Press start.
We're recording, right? So I can do the intro.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, apparently you're in charge. So I mean,
I would love it if Derek was in charge because
Me too,
I
me
definitely
too.
don't want to be.
the shirtless guy is in charge. The one that doesn't wear clothes half the time.
Welcome to episode 151 of Current Gen. I'm your host, Derek, and we also have Dan. Say hi, Dan.
I have a shirt on, so.
All right, cool. Hi, Jeff.
Me
Jeff's
too.
here
And I
too.
have a watch, and I have this. It's a fidget ring.
I actually really do like your watch. I'm a watch guy too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have like 8.
I like
I
watches.
bought a. This is a new 2023 thing. I bought like a case, and I filled it with 8 watches now. I have so many
Oh,
watches.
you got a
We'll
watch
have to have a
case.
watch cast
Well,
because I
you're
have some
more
really
into
nice
watches
watches
than
too. We
It's
should,
a new
yeah.
thing though. It's
Too
like
many
within the
shows.
last-
Too many
Too many
podcasts.
shows. last
No,
month. Yeah.
it'll be a segment in this one.
We're just raking in the millions from all the podcasts we're doing now.
Oh, that's true.
We're
true.
buying
Sponsors.
watches with all your hard-earned YouTube money.
Yeah, exactly. These are all
then-
under 100. Let's be real, but this is really nice.
Last but not least, we have Kyle. Say hi, Kyle.
Hi,
All right, good.
So enthusiastic. I bought it.
I'm wearing pants. I don't know. If the
So
auditor
how's
declared something.
everybody doing after our Game of the Year show?
I'm
Everybody
exhausted.
recovered from it? We
I'm
ready?
an alcoholic now.
All right, good.
Oh,
After
yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
That's where we landed.
Was that your
Okay.
2023 goal?
Yeah, to become, and
I
y'all
wanna
got me there
embrace
super
it.
quick because of
I
the
want
Game
to
of the Year show. so.
destroy my liver. If I'm not getting on a liver replacement transplant list by November, then I've failed. That's what Kyle's saying.
So I'm just riding until the wheels fall off at this point.
Hashtag goals. Hashtag goals.
No, I
important.
thought we were all very nice to each other, and we reached some okay lists, I would say. No, we reached some really good lists, and I really
did.
enjoyed Game of the
We really
Year.
did.
I
It's
did
all downhill
enjoy.
from here.
Yeah, I enjoyed all the shows, but I am ready. I actually liked how I don't even think we purposely did this, but it's pretty cool that we finished our end of the year, Game of the Year shows, and we literally are starting our what I would consider our first true show of 2023, and it's
Yeah.
with a big launch. So
Big
Thank
launch on
goodness.
multiple media, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Multiple different big launches. So.
yeah. Well, let's kick the show off with who got Fire Emblem Engage. Who has purchased a copy of that?
Yeah.
Kyle.
I
Everybody
did
but
too.
Dan.
I want the record
I
to
hate
show
Fire
that
Emblem.
I like anime more than Dan at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spell it.
Look,
Spell it.
yeah.
Do
Look,
it. Spell it.
we have to
That's true.
establish something.
Yeah.
Dan is a pony, so it's
Okay.
never gonna be a surprise that he doesn't buy
sorry,
good
but
games on other systems. You're a pony.
Horses.
You're a pony.
Horses watch anime too. Okay.
Horses are also one of the dumbest animals on the planet. So
Wait, what?
they are. They're very stupid. They're very low on the intelligence.
Donkeys are
like,
actually
rating.
smarter than they're
Pigs
smarter
are
than
smart.
dogs.
Actually, that's not.
Like,
Pigs are actually really smart. So that's not a good comparison.
All right. Welcome
Like,
to Farmcast.
All right, let me tell you something. Growing up in Texas, I know a theory or two about livestock. You know what I'm saying?
Darn tootin'.
I say.
Yeah, now
All
we're
right,
in
so
Louisiana. That's
Kyle, Jeff, and myself, but Dan, who would probably absolutely love Fire Emblem Engage.
Well, I
did not.
gotta go back to the beginnings of the series and start
No.
there.
You-
And
Oh.
there's nothing that connects
Yeah,
any of
really.
these games.
They
to
have
that.
nothing to do with each other now. Although this one actually has a lot to do with literally every Fire Emblem game.
Yeah, this
But-
is like the Fire Emblem All Stars, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true, but I don't think I'm not feeling lost or anything. Like I don't.
No, you wouldn't be because it's only
Yeah.
characters. Yeah,
So let's-
it's
Yeah,
like-
they're
that.
not
Let's
going.
kick
Hey,
it
this
off
reminds me of
with-
that time I did the thing back then in the thing or whatever. Like it's.
Let's kick
And I've played all of
off
them, and
the
it doesn't do that to me, so.
discussion of Fire Emblem with Jeff. Since you are new to the franchise, completely new, correct? You've never bought a Fire Emblem game before?
Correct. I always assumed I would hate it.
Okay,
He's
well
kinda new to
then
the genre,
we would
really,
like
which
to
is
hear
just
your
kind of a whole
assumptions
new
being
Jeff.
wrong. So go ahead and share your thought.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because I do want to keep playing it. So I think I just kind of started last year getting more into turn-based things. Like, yes, I did beat
Marvel.
both South Park games, and those were turn-based, but those are different turn-based type of games where you're like throwing farts at each other and stuff like that. So it's just different. That's a different flavor of turn-based where it's funny and like.
And South Park 2 was kind of a little more tactical, right?
It was
Am
more
I missing
tactical,
that?
like
Was
Fire
moving
Emblem,
around?
where you had to move around in confined
Yeah.
spaces within like I think it's like just a
Like a
cube,
grid.
like in a 9. I think it was a
Yeah,
9
like a
square
grid.
grid, right? I think
Yeah,
it was 9
Yeah.
blocks.
It's
Yeah.
smaller.
Yeah, it was much smaller. Whereas Fire Emblem is like have fun. It's like chess basically. Except there's a little more movement than that, I guess. I always thought of Fire Emblem as like a more limited movement turn-based type of game, but playing this one, I feel like that's not the case at all. But Midnight Suns was my and I played the Diofield demo too. There's more freedom in Diofield though. There's not as much tactical.
Oh yeah.
It's more real. It's more real time. This is
definitely.
Diofield has no grid.
But Midnight Suns was not only turn-based, but like it required you to think about what cards you want to use, because you're going to be done with that card like for that turn. But the movement was more free. Like you could just kind of walk around and that could be your one move.
Turn and burn cards. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that was like I guess the groundwork was laid for if I was going to buy a turn-based, take a gamble and buy a turn-based game like this one. That's more tactical based. So yeah, that's I don't know. It was just like we're well past the middle point of January, and I haven't bought a AAA game yet. And this is still considered AAA, right?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Even though the Switch is not what you would consider like comparable to like PS5 graphic wise and stuff. It's still AAA experience.
Among their top 5 flagship franchises.
Yeah,
Right.
This is one of Nintendo's this is their heavy hitter.
Yeah.
So
Fire Emblem is one of their biggest series. It's just only the past maybe like few iterations
I would say it's
that got more popular.
It really started with Awakening.
It started getting
whatever.
really big during the DS, 3DS, 2DS era.
Yeah.
But like it's been around since forever.
Yeah, because I
Since
remember
Nintendo,
Kyle
right?
when I went to Colorado and I don't think the Switch was up. Was the Switch out yet?
I don't think so. No.
But I remember you were on 3DS playing Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one that was,
Probably
but
Fates.
I remember.
Probably Fates.
Yeah, you were definitely on 3D. So that I remember that kind of like breaking kind of wide open, and I didn't know what it was until I saw you playing it. Anyway, so yeah, another thing was I'm normally not into JRPGs, but I'm just kind of getting more lenient with things I've always said no on in gaming. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I still have all this money that I haven't spent all this money on games. Like in December, I spent so much freaking money on games. It's stupid. So like I was just ready, so I just thought I would take the risk. And yeah, dude, I really like it. I really like the combat and how it kind of has like these elements of certain weapons being stronger than others. That's just one example, and obviously I'm super early.
It's like a rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
So like swords beat axes, or something like that. Axes beat jousting beat swords.
Yeah, whatever those things are. Yeah. So I do love that aspect, and I feel like they're going to just tack on maybe like little more nuances to the combat that you have to remember to make you feel smart when you nail it. So I feel like they're going to add more of that as I progress, but I don't feel lost or anything. I thought like with it being Fire Emblem and the fact that there have been several Fire Emblem, I thought there would be like an element of you kind of have to know a little bit about this world or whatever, and that's not the case.
In different universes,
Yeah, exactly. Like this world, I looked it up after I played the first couple chapters, and I was like, oh, this world has not been touched on like at all in any sense.
And the characters you're playing as are new characters, but the people in the rings are like your classic. Also,
and I felt that too. The game was kind of explaining it to me because they had to, because the lead character, this guy, who I named Frunky, something stupid.
Nice.
I always name him something stupid.
Here for it.
That sounds like a very anime name.
Frunker.
They originally named him something. It sounded like after a star constellation, and I was like, no, that's too on the nose for the genre.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I had to go really dumb. Anyway, but they got the anime trope of him having amnesia and stuff like that. But it's like mild amnesia, so there's some things that he remembers. So like they are having to explain to the gamer what's happening, and so I'm not feeling lost at any point. I feel like
that was what I was gonna say. Is the whole intro is like heavy on like here's how to play the game.
Yeah,
here's what's going on.
They very much treat you like a first-time
player, and like they're very much treating the game like, hey, nobody's ever played Fire Emblem ever, so we've got to explain everything to you. So I know people get tired of that, but I think it's smart, especially with franchises like this.
Because you have circumstances like mine where some
people are finding new franchises every day and becoming big fans. You know, so you got to treat it like it's the first time.
Exactly. Well, it's funny because like I've been playing Fire Emblem since I believe the name is Awakening on the 3DS or 2DS.
Good game.
So I've been playing since then. I was always interested in the series, but I never got it. Like the one that was on the GameCube always looked cool to me, but I never bought it. But the reason I'm bringing this up is like I have always been in the Fire Emblem, but I've never really been into strategic RPGs and even JRPGs. I will play certain ones, but for the most part, I don't play them a lot. But it started last year. Obviously, everybody heard enough about how much I love Xenoblade Chronicles 3. But even with like Field and all these other games, I started like really seeking out strategic RPG games. Like now that's like my thing where it's like, I want to play this. This is now fun to me. Whereas in the past, I would have been like, I mean, I'll buy it and play it for an hour or two, but that's not my thing. Like I wouldn't.
I think we're kind of at the age now where our lifestyle and the life that we like with the life we have left, we're kind of like, let's slow things down a little bit, including in gaming, because this is definitely more of a. And I felt this way about Midnight Suns. I was like, I feel more relaxed and it's not so urgent. Like, go do the thing. Like, God of War Ragnarok was a very stressful experience. As much as I love that game, and as much as I normally love those type of games where it's an urgent combat system and you got to go attack the guy now. This is a nice break from that for me, at least, because I've been playing those types of games all my life and have been avoiding these types of games all my life. So,
well, I
this
think
is a really refreshing change of pace for me.
I don't know if it's the same thing for you or even some of you other guys on this podcast. Like for me, I was always intimidated by JRPGs and even strategy RPGs.
Yeah.
Not because I sucked at them. That wasn't it. It was I would always do how long to beat a game, and I would always see 80 to 100 hours, and I'd be like, no, I'm not playing this game for 80 to 100 hours, and first of all, they have gotten a little bit better. I'm starting to see JRPGs, their times for like main story completion, and you have easy mode in almost every game now, is dropping to usually around 40 to maybe 60 hours.
Yeah.
But also, I think for me, I've changed my mindset and I did this last year, obviously with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but don't forget, I beat Fire Emblem 3 Houses as well.
It's a huge game, dude.
Which is a huge game. But it was a change in my mindset where I now play multiple games at the same time. So I'll usually have like a smaller experience. Let's say, I'm saying it's smaller. I'm not saying it's like 5 hours, but like God of War, which is more straightforward. Like, hey, you're playing this to enjoy the combat and get through the story, but the story is not going to take you 80 hours. No. So I can play that, make that my main game, and then usually like in these handheld games like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and now this new Fire Emblem game, my mindset is now whenever I want to watch soccer or Netflix or something like that, I can grab my Switch, lay on my bed, and just play as I'm watching a show. And it's changed my mindset where I'm not being intimidated by how long a game is, and I'm just slowly going through it at whatever pace I want, if that makes sense. So I've actually been enjoying these games more, that it's making me want to play more of them, and that's why, and I'm not going to get into it right now, I'll talk about it later in the show, but I've been playing Final Fantasy XII because that's another one of the games that I was like, I always wanted to beat this, I always wanted to beat it, and now I'm not going to be intimidated by how long it is anymore. I'm just going to play through it and pace myself, and then eventually I'll get through it. But that's how I've been handling these games. So that's going to be my strategy with Fire Emblem Engage. We got more games coming out. Well, literally, we're recording
next week,
on Friday night. Yeah. So Tuesday is the release of Forspoken. I'm getting it. And then next Friday is Dead Space. So we've got a ton of games coming up. So this game has to be just something where I have to have that mindset of like, hey, let's just keep chipping away at it. Don't just
this is going to be my long-term chip away type. I can already tell because I know that I checked the chapter's length and it's like not the length of each chapter, but how many chapters there are. And it's like 28 chapters, and obviously they're going to vary in length based on how much you're asked to do. And there's side quests as well. So I'm expecting like a 50 main story, 40 to 50.
They're about that long usually.
And then if you add extra, maybe 70, maybe 60, 70. That's what I'm expecting, but there's no times yet because the game is so new. But yeah, I'm totally with you. I'm getting Forspoken and Dead Space as well. especially because I haven't played the first Dead Space ever. So
Dead
that's
Space is
going to
excellent.
be another eye-opening
Resident Evil in
experience.
space.
I'm
Yes.
totally playing those, and those are like my ones that I like. Okay, these are the ones I focus on. But like while I'm, have something where I can afford to have that second screen experience where I can multitask. Yeah. Fire Emblem's that chip away at game for sure. I can.
Kyle, what's your thoughts? And how did you get to play it all?
Yeah, I definitely got to play some. I'm really enjoying this game. Fire Emblem, Three Houses, which is my favorite Fire Emblem, but like, I didn't want another one of those because it's such a man that there's a cycle to that game that's so deliberately slow paced. So like, you really get to know these characters as you're murdering them.
Sure.
So like
sure.
there's a reason to it all and everything like that. But like, I didn't want another carbon copy one of those. So them like kind of going back to the basics and it being kind of it's more linear. I would call it. That's not the right word. There's just less going on mechanically in the game. Like like you do go to like a hub area and talk to people and do some mini
focused.
stuff. But it's way more focused. Thank you, Dan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been to the hub area. Is it like is
Me
it
neither.
as open as Three
It's small.
Houses or not?
It's smaller. It's like a smaller area. Everything's
That's
right.
what I was hoping you would say.
Everything's
that it's
right where
not-
it needs to be. So,
Okay.
And I
but
feel
there's
like
still like mini stuff to do there.
I don't know if the other games have done this, but I feel like it's kind of like with Midnight Suns when they introduce new characters. The pacing at which they're introducing new things and ideas and concepts and combat and characters to you, it works so well because I never feel like I'm drowning. Okay, there's too much being thrown at me. Like there's some games that I swear there was one game that I tried that both of y'all love, or all of you might love, that I was like, there's way too many instructions being thrown at me right now. And I just had to bounce. I was like, I'm not in the mood for this. And this is not that type of experience for me.
That's good.
I feel like they're pacing it out.
There is a
really
nice
well.
pacing to it in terms of new stuff. And you're going to be getting new characters all game. Really, if you're playing it, and I'm not playing it on classic mode, I just kind of want to cruise through this game.
I play it on easy.
So I'm playing it on normal casual, which means
normal casual.
Like,
that's what
characters
normal
don't
casual.
die. But usually Fire Emblem proper is folks get knocked out because you have to make sacrifice plays and they're dead and they're out of the story and they're dead forever.
I'll be
so
honest.
The game does a good job of giving you
play it.
It raises the stakes in a big way.
Yeah.
But usually
really
I just
think about what you're doing.
Usually I just rewind because you have that ability too. So if someone does die, you could just like, well, let me take that move back or whatever. But back in the day, like someone died, they died. And that's why the games have gotten into this idea of like, you're going to be getting new characters all the way to the end of the game pretty much, So it's like, there's always going to be someone new to try out or some, some interesting pairing to get to.
Awesome.
This is one of my favorite franchises. I already bought the season pass. So I was like, I know I'm going to play all this stuff. So,
awesome.
I just came out of the gate and purchased all the content for it, and
it's like what, $30 for the
and it's a lot. Like the first pack is already out, so like I already have like extra like emblem rings and a bunch of like starter like items like that. That's
cool.
Like padding the front of my game in a pretty easy way. And I'm just really enjoying it. I think it's great. We were talking in the chat that like again, unlike Three Houses, which is way more Game of Thronesy, it's all about like making friends, backstabbing them. Making like, watching this like huge story unfold about like people who shouldn't be fighting are just killing each other. It's war, This is way high fantasy. It's talking dragons, super vibrant neon colors and stuff like that. So it's
it definitely looks more fantastical.
It's way more fantastical.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I was like, first of all, again, I like the Fire Emblem franchise, but I was drawn in by the hair color. I was like, blue and red. This looks so freaking vibrant and cool.
Vibrant.
Yeah, it's they're just out of their way to just give you a really like eye-popping experience. And I know you own a OLED, Derek. So I don't know if you played it in handheld mode yet. It looks awesome in handheld mode. Looks super
I actually
slick.
think the game. I had it. So I got my new monitor, so I had it plugged into the new monitor, and that's OLED as well. But it's bigger. It's 48 inches, and so I was actually expecting it to be ugly. And as I was playing, I was like, "This looks good. Like
it's a
this
sharp-looking
actually
game.
looks good on my big screen." Whereas, like, if I would play like Breath of the Wild and stuff like that in handheld mode, Breath of the Wild looks great. It really does.
Yeah.
But when you put it on a big screen and it starts to stretch,
I agree with that.
I'm making a face. I'm already.
I played 90% of that game in handheld, and I was so stoked to play like a Zelda like on the big screen, and like I very quickly I was just like, it just looks better here.
I had that experience like because I have a 4K monitor right here, and my Switch is up here, and I just toggle the inputs when I want to play
Yeah.
my Switch. My 4K monitor was giving me the ugliest picture of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Like, it was just hideous. So I was like, okay, now I switched to the 1080p monitor, and this game looks great on that. Like, I mean, it looks fantastic.
I would highly recommend playing Switch games on 1080p because I don't think people realize like having all those extra I'm forgetting the name of it, but like your little
pixels
square
or something, or
pixels, having all those extra pixels actually makes a lot of like
it distorts
Switch games.
Something about distorting
it makes it
the
look
picture.
gross.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have like a tighter screen that's 1080p and it's actually native to what the output is, it makes everything look tighter and prettier.
Yeah,
even
I noticed
if it
that
is
right away with Fire Emblem. I was like, wow, this looks really good. Yeah,
it does. It looks good on big screen,
even on regular ass. Because Kyle, do you have a Switch OLED or no?
Yeah, I sure
do.
Yeah.
So I don't, and even then, I was still playing regular normie Switch, and it looked awesome on handheld mode in that sense too. Like, so I mean, it looked good on both. Yeah, it's definitely a good looking game.
It's got great art design. So far, I like everything. It's very lighthearted in the beginning. Like, I picked the female character to start the game because progressive. I've always been progressive.
So woke. You're too woke for us.
That's the one word.
Always.
I've
one word I would associate.
But I picked her, and she was just completely like very like sweet and very like ditzy, kind of like very over the top nice. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be extremely cartoony and animated kind of feel to it. It's got a lighthearted vibe to it. I'm expecting as we get through it and they start to kind of play through the plot and why you're at war and all that stuff, I expect it to get a little bit.
So that's y'all's experience with previous Fire Emblems, is that the story does take a dark turn sometimes, or
I mean, with
they're
houses,
either start dark or get dark. That's kind of
Three Houses. Like, you start out like by picking a house, and you pick the main character, and you kind of go to that school and you play that character. But you start to realize that like these three houses are like not who you think they are. Like there's people doing shady stuff and they're out for blood, and that was kind of what Kyle was talking about. There's more depth to it. It is a Game of Thrones type feel to it. I don't know about this one. I didn't do like a lot of research on the story or anything, and I only watched one review, and I can't even remember if he said the story was good or not. I know he said he loved the game. I think he gave it a 9 out of 10, but I would expect that this will have some darkness, I would say, to it. It's a very bright, cartoony type.
There's a rounded, feel-good vibe to it, too, with like, oh, your classic characters are here, and look how colorful it is. Like, I think they're also kind of going for, like, good vibes,
starting
experience,
out
too, but
like,
I have a feeling something... There's something called like the Dark Dragon or Demon Dragon or whatever. Like, it's probably not a nice thing, It's probably going to show up, and it's probably going to get pretty wicked dark.
I
just think Nintendo does a good job of
taking
like darker themes and still having a lighthearted like cuteness to it, that you don't feel like you're playing something really dark or demonic or anything like that. Like they even do that with like Zelda. Like, everybody's so cartoony and happy and over the top, but the end of the world could be literally happening and you have to save it, and they're just like, hey, Link, hey!
Except if you're playing Majora's Mask and everyone's just off and creepy. You're like, why? What's the vibe of this?
Well, there's all sorts of fun theories with that game. So that
there's a lot of darkness in that. But overall, I would say none of us got to dive into it super deep because we're literally recording this on the day that it launched. So I only got to play a little bit. It sounds like you guys got definitely further than me. And our impressions overall is, if you like Fire Emblem, buy this. If you don't know if you like Fire Emblem, I think this sounds like it. To me, I would say this is a good place to start because you don't have to worry about it whether you know the story or anything like that. We've already established that it's a completely separate universe, completely separate characters, obviously different story. And then I would say, as far as level of difficulty, this game, as far as learning it and how to play it, this one has been said by reviewers that this is an easier Fire Emblem game because of the engage part of the game, where you basically become OP.
There's a lot of, again, like,
it's so cool.
There's magic and dragons and creatures sometimes in these games, but the way that they're like your transformation when you go engage, like you have like angel wings that are on fire or whatever. It gets wacky, like, and I really like it. It's
so
just,
you're
the
summoning
animations
them like
when you attack is in that mode when you're like engaged with your whatever. It's so cool. So cool. Love the animation style.
Like, what are you building up to grab them? Like, obviously, it sounds like it's like almost like an ultimate move, right? So it's like, are you accumulating something in order to grab these all-star like previous characters?
So
like
they're always kind of fight. They're always kind of fighting alongside of you because you have like a ring or whatever.
Okay.
But like the way that you utilize that depletes some sort of bar that repletes, you know, and then using that you can use moves and
they'll have
merge
on the battlefield there. Sometimes there will be like, if you go to there over that area,
there's a refill point.
You'll get some refill, or you can just keep attacking and you'll refill it naturally, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. I think it's almost like an homage to the entire previous series. Like, oh hey, now like these guys.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
And whether it's attached to the story or not, obviously, I don't know. Maybe you guys know, or maybe they haven't said it yet. Like the story reasons why that's happening. But I think that's really cool to just kind of be like, hey, like remember all these like characters from the series that you super love.
Since for me at least, Fire Emblem has some of the coolest looking characters in all of video games.
How many are in Smash? I mean,
Sakurai
has like
could not
15
stop
of
putting
them
those
in.
guys. I got another sword guy for you. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like,
so many.
I love
sword
you,
guys.
bud, but we need to figure it out here, you know.
So many.
But to me, they have some of the coolest characters in all of video games. I've always felt that way since I started playing the Fire Emblem games. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm shallow. That type of stuff. Like if you have cool looking characters, I'm like, yep, I'll buy you. So I think
why
overall,
I get suckered into Tales games every year that one of those comes out. I'm like, because they always knock out like the character design.
Dude, Arise is gorgeous. That game is beautiful. So.
That's still one of them that's in my queue to finish. One of my JRPGs that I want to finish.
Never talked about that game.
Never talked about it.
No.
Yeah, let's talk about them cliffs. Or we could talk about a space for the Unbound.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to. This is one of those obnoxious indie games that some people might make fun of indie games for. You know, I like indie games, and sometimes I'm an apologist for the ones that are more obscure. And there's like everybody's gone to the Rapture. I love that game, and there's like, it's such a like obtuse game. It's so weird, narratively and stuff. Anyway. So this is like a pixel art type of game, and it's I'm just gonna read the description because I only played the prologue and I was like, oh, this isn't for me.
Sure. Well, there you go. Now you know.
The prologue is a demo, by the way, if you wanted to try it for free on Steam. So it's
you're
a slice
selling me on it.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a slice of life adventure game with pixel art set in the late '90s, rural Indonesia. I couldn't even tell that was Indonesia.
This one. Okay.
Yeah, it tells a story about overcoming anxiety and depression, and the relationship between a boy and a girl with supernatural powers. I mean, reviews are at like 144 users have said very positive things about it so far.
It sounds like on paper it would be a fun anime to watch. I don't know if the game is fun to explore.
I think it's just something about the crude art style and the color schemes I just don't like it. I'm not saying there's nothing to do in the game. Like there are some moments where you're walking. It's mostly just walking around picking stuff up and finding the situation where you need to use the item you just picked up. So it's kind of puzzly in that sense, almost like Return to Monkey Island a little bit.
See, I like the way that it looks.
I couldn't. The way that it moved around and stuff. It just
I haven't actually seen it in movement. I've only seen screenshots. To be fair, yeah, I like the just kind of.
But yeah, it's very. The dialogue is not. I'm trying to remember if there was voice acting. I think it's just reading, which Pentiment kind of built up my endurance for tolerating that. But it's not. It's just I'm just not in the mood for this type of game right now. Yeah. It's a little too slow for me.
It just released?
Yeah, it just came out on Thursday, and the prologue has been out since like 2020. It's been out a while.
I saw like a Facebook ad for it. I was like, oh, this kind of looks like something I could get into, but like I knew literally it was just images.
There is some interesting story movement in the prologue that makes me go, ooh, what a cliffhanger, and then it goes into the main titles. And then right when they show you what's going to happen after the cliffhanger, they go to be continued, and I'm like, you son of a bitch! Like I'm not gonna bite. I can't bite on this.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at some screenshots. Apparently, there are some QTE events where you get in fights and stuff like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was not in the prologue, but what is in the prologue is there's a magic book that allows you to go inside people's minds, and you can like kind of persuade them to do something that allows you to collect an item that they're in the way of. So that's kind of a cool thing, I guess. But this is like the type of indie game that Derek would make fun of, and I totally get it.
This gives me the vibe.
I'm biting
of, like,
my tongue. I'm trying to be nice host, so
It's fair.
So brave of you, very brave.
Very brave.
This gives me the vibes of like a Super Nintendo. Shut up. A Super Nintendo game that would be like Ghibli. Would be like a Ghibli if they turned it into a Super Nintendo game sort of thing, or like one of those movies that is inspired by the Ghibli studio. There's all these other movies out there, like what is it? Your Name or something. Like there's all the different ones, but
yeah, whatever studio did that, and I think they did Bell too.
Yeah. That's the vibe that it gives me.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I was getting when I was playing it. The prologue is 20 minutes. It's like nothing.
Oh, okay.
So Daniel, try it out. Since you won't be playing Fire Emblem.
Yeah, I'll play this instead.
Yeah, totally. You should.
Or I'll just be playing Dead Space next week, obviously. So.
Yeah. That's probably going to be a big one for you, right?
Yeah, just a
waste of resources, guys.
Such
I
a
can't wait to play that waste of resources.
Couldn't have gotten
another one of those. Come on.
Yeah, we couldn't have gotten Dead Space 4.
They just released Callisto Protocol. We really don't need Dead Space.
You already got Dead Space at home. You know?
Yeah, that is literally Dead Space at home.
God damn it.
That's the meme.
Why don't we talk about something more interesting that I'm excited about, and that's the Last of Us premiered last Sunday.
What a waste of resources that is.
No.
They remade it again in a different media.
Yeah. If we've already released the game 17 gazillion times, why do we need to make a show? Why do we need to make a show? That doesn't even make sense.
Telling the same story.
Don't give Todd Howard any ideas, man. Skyrim's coming soon to Apple TV Plus.
Oh, please.
I don't know, man. That guy
it's just like a barbarian stealing cheese from people.
It just works.
Show.
It just works.
You can't even release Starfield right now, so I don't think Skyrim's coming.
That game's never coming out. I like that game is never coming out.
Can I just say this? I know we're gonna talk about this stuff later, but I've said this on this podcast a gazillion times. I've always preferred Xbox. Since Xbox existed, I've always preferred that console. I was a Sega kid when I was younger. I always appreciated Nintendo, but I always preferred Sega, and then I preferred Xbox over PlayStation. So I've always been like, basically the secondhand trash is what I prefer. I cannot.
The Greedfall stuff is really making sense now, to be honest.
It totally makes sense. The swimming in sevens is like, oh, dude, okay.
The Greedfall of consoles.
He got the Greedfall of consoles.
But I cannot stand right now the current state of Xbox and how much talent you have, how many games you should have. I've always been patient. Been like, just give them time. They'll get the stuff out. The amount of time that it's taking for them to even release anything, or for instance, we're supposed to get some games in Q1 of 2023, correct? Like we were supposed to get like Forza Motorsport.
Yeah.
We should be getting a new Forza. We should be getting Starfield. Do we have release dates for either one of those?
None of those, yeah.
Nothing.
Well, they have a conference thing in like 5 days.
Okay. Then
we'll be talking about some release dates for one of those games, but it's still like we're talking deep January. We're in Q1, and you're announcing Q1 announcements.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They just seem
Starfield.
Like they're completely, and we're going to talk about it obviously later, but they don't seem to be running their studios very well. And my point is to be honest, they've never ran their studios very well.
No, their game
they've always had good games and good studios. And they have not released enough of them. Whereas I look at PlayStation and I'm just like, dude, these guys just keep knocking it out of the park left and right. And then they'll grab a new studio every once in a while, and that team will create an awesome IP. Like they just do it right, in my opinion. But again, we'll talk about that later. But let's talk about The Last of Us. So I was super excited. As I've said before, The Last of Us is one of my favorite. I won't say it's my favorite game, but it's up there. I beat the game 7 times. I'm gonna buy it on PC, which means I'm gonna probably play it again. I just enjoy it. Gameplay, world, characters, story, everything about that game is to me almost perfection. So my excitement for the show was actually very, very high,
Interesting.
extremely high.
Yeah, because
So,
you see news of a new video game adaptation, and naturally we're all inclined to go, all right, here we go again, another disappointment. You know what I mean? So a lot of people have been more reserved about this show.
I know they were making big, bold statements like what was it that this was like the greatest video game
Adaptation,
show or adaptation
Low
ever
bar,
released.
low bar.
And
yeah,
I
exactly. And that was the
Not much of a
Chernobyl
statement,
guy. That
no.
was Craig Mazin who said that. I think he's the guy who's the showrunner with Neil Druckmann.
Okay. And I honestly, when he said it, I wasn't like, from what they had showed, I was like, and the decisions they were making, I was like, he could be right. And again, I understand low bar, but they are getting better overall. Quality of like shows and movies based off video games are getting better.
That's fair. That's fair. Yes, definitely.
So when I started watching,
unfortunately, though, it's more in the animated medium that we're seeing more success. I would say.
Agreed. But when I started the show, first of all, the first show is almost an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like
it's like
it almost feels like a
long,
movie. So I appreciated that they did that. I like that they made this first one. Most times they'll make the first and the last one longer, but I like that this felt like this was a movie. And I'll start kicking off real quick by just saying I absolutely loved every single thing about it. There's only one thing that I would say. This isn't a criticism. It's just I noticed it and I was like, oh, I feel like they could have fleshed that out just a little bit more. And that's I'm not gonna remember his name, but basically the guy that tries to steal from Joel and Trish or Tess. I didn't like how, like in the video game, it's like a whole. Basically, you go through a bunch of enemies, you get to them, you chase
guns
them.
that they're stealing, not a battery,
right?
Yeah.
You go to like that warehouse, right? And you're sneaking around the first time, like
And this
where
is very
I'm not gonna
where
spoil
he's like
it.
begging, please don't tell Joel. Yeah.
I'm not gonna spoil it, but the show basically skips and bypasses all that, and it's just like, oh, okay, that's a real big change in my opinion. But other than that, they fleshed things out, which is what I was hoping they do, which that's what they said they were going to do. So I like that they didn't just hype, hey, we're going to flesh this out, and they didn't really do it.
Yeah.
They really fleshed out a lot of things, and I just felt like, again, I know it's just one episode, but they really nailed it, and they set me up to be like, I cannot wait for Sundays now. It's kind of like how I feel with Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
whenever
that
Game
was
of
me
Thrones
with like
is out,
anything
I get
HBO
excited
really.
for
Yeah.
Yeah.
They nailed the tone of it. It's a good
Big
tone,
time.
like live action from video game to the tone is great. There's that scene where the truck pulls up, and I'm not gonna say anything else. You know what I'm talking about? Where that woman's like, I can't. And then just that tone of that moment where like he just kind of does the thing because he's just so fucking
the
done
worst
with
things have already
everything.
happened
Like,
to it.
So he's just like, well, fuck it. Like, this
I
is
can
my
take care of that.
job in this like post-apocalypse. I don't give a fuck. Like, so like that just very much personifies Joel because Joel's just jaded and doesn't give a crap, and he just does whatever he needs to do.
He's a prickly pear at the beginning of the game, big time. Like he's kind of a douche and not anybody you'd want to be around. So I feel like they're definitely nailing that completely. And
everybody in town's afraid
Pedro's
of him.
really selling it. Like he's really good at this being an asshole thing.
I also I want to say, as somebody who has zero emotions, they almost got me in the beginning, even though I knew what was going to happen.
They still didn't get you.
That they got the perfect girl to play. I'm forgetting his daughter.
It's hard.
Sarah.
Sarah. They got the perfect girl to play her. That I was like, oh, you that can't happen to you. Like you're too cute. Like not in like a creepy way, but like you're just got like the cutest personality.
There's an innocence.
She's got daughter energy. You know, she's got lovable daughter energy.
She's got an innocence on her face or something that's just like.
It just
works. Not her, you know, like
and we knew it was coming, you know.
Yeah,
we know it's coming.
And I told you, like,
but I wanted Final Fantasy VII remake. I wanted them to do like a twist. Be like, she's not gonna. not gonna.
Joel dies. Joel
Alternate
dies.
reality Ellie.
Joel dies.
I was messaging y'all in the chat, and like I think I was like 20 minutes in the episode, and I was like, they're still following Sarah around. Like,
Yeah,
they're gonna
dude.
we're gonna stab you with this dagger real deep.
The scene where
Yeah.
she's like looking at the DVDs, and behind her the blurred effect of the lady.
the
in
old
chair.
lady.
Creepy.
Dude, that was
Yeah.
fucking
They did a
creepy.
good
And
job
like the
with that.
sound it's making, like great sound design. Like that's whatever that sound was.
And
that
then
they
of
were
course
doing.
seeing the dog's reaction, because dogs always
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
that was just great.
A lot of good
Man, so much
telegraphs,
going on there. Yeah. And then like when things go chaotic, because even if you've like only barely played the first game, you would have gotten past Sarah. The Sarah part.
Yeah,
Would have gotten
that's like the
past.
first 20.
Yeah,
30
I think
minutes
we
of
could
the game.
exactly.
spoil that because that's the part that like hit me the hardest. Because like I said,
Same.
I really don't
pretty
get
hard
that
with the
emotional.
show.
I can usually separate and go, this is just a game or this is just a show. I don't really care. But there was a part of me that was like tugging, that I was like putting myself in his place, and I was like, if that was my daughter.
Oh,
Like that made it really difficult because the performances really sold it. I'm not saying
yeah,
they
it was
didn't
really
do it
good.
very good in the video game. They did it great in the video game. It was just different. I don't know how to explain it. And again, I
because
think
it is
they did
real people, right?
Yeah,
like you're
it's true.
seeing
Real
actual human
people,
beings.
but
with
they
the-
also, like you guys said, they let us see Sarah alive for a
Yes, that
while
too. That too.
and hanging out and being sweet.
We saw,
and
it was her
being
daily
this
routine
lovable
almost.
person.
Yeah.
So
She went into
taking her
town to fix the
away-
watch. Like,
Yeah. So taking
Yeah, we
her
got to see all that.
away hurt because it was just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like that. I know who she is now. Whereas in the video game, you just know that's his daughter. And yes, you get to see like a little glimpse of like them having a relationship. But Joel's actually, I think, in my opinion, a little bit sweeter in the show than he is in the video game with Sarah in the beginning. Because he's kind of in the video
they have-
games, he's like, why are you up? Go to
Yeah.
bed. Blah, blah. Like he's real like rude.
He's
whereas
an inconvenience dad, basically.
yeah, but in
Yeah.
the show, I felt like he was more like jokey with her. and
Playful.
He
Yeah.
starts out a little bit harsh, but then he's like, you could tell he loves her and he's a good dad to her, and she's a good daughter to him. But yeah, I really felt like they nailed that. That's again a little subtle change. They gave us more time with her, so we could actually care about her. And like I said, they definitely got the perfect girl to play that role.
Yeah.
Her personality is just oozing out of that character. You can just see in real life she's probably a lot like that.
has she been in anything else? Like, she
Yeah,
seems like a great
she
actress.
was in she was in that Reminiscence movie with Hugh Jackman. God, what was the main thing that she was in? The Dumbo remake. That
Yeah.
Dumbo
Oh,
movie.
was
Yeah.
she?
Yeah, that she was.
That was actually really good.
That was her first role, really.
Oh,
So,
I don't
yeah.
even remember her being in that.
But yeah, that's
You probably know who her mom is.
yeah, the
She's on
Westworld.
Westworld.
Oh, yeah. I saw an image of
Andy
them
Newton.
standing. Yep.
Which is funny because I was watching Mission Impossible 2, and
Yeah.
she's
Oh, yeah.
in that.
She's so dumb
And
in
I
that
was
movie,
like-
dude.
She's what?
Her character is so dumb in that movie, making
Yeah.
constantly bad choices after
Otherwise,
bad
an
choices.
excellent movie. Excellent.
Yeah,
movie.
totally
that's the
realistic movie too.
only-
I will
problem with that
literally
movie.
fire you again, but actually it will happen. It will not be a fake
It's just
fire.
not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. Because again, we don't get paid for this.
Now I know why you
Mission
want to
Impo-
hate me.
Mission Impossible 2.
Hate is all
No.
I just want to see lately.
Let's just keep talking about The Last of Us. Mission Impossible 2 is terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
But that bike scene though, guys, the bike scene though.
I could still do it if like losing that bike scene meant we didn't have that movie. I could lose the bike scene.
I will say that movie. I think that movie cratered the careers of the two guys that were the bad guys. Like,
Oh man.
the guy
Did
who's
it?
like, "Put down 1,000 for me." I quote that shit all the time.
Those-
And then there's the
1,000.
blonde guy too, and those guys are in nothing now. Like,
Good
That
job,
sucks.
John Woo. Good job.
Good job.
But
But man,
so funny.
But
Third
to
one,
be
though.
fair, again, so I watched Mission Impossible, obviously 2, and then I just watched 3 yesterday. And if you pay attention to all 3 of them, the first one has a good villain, the second one has a trash villain, the third one has a really good villain. And villains matter, and that was one of the things. I'm not saying there wasn't other things wrong with Mission Impossible 2, but the biggest problem with Mission Impossible 2 is that second villain is absolutely terrible.
Trash.
He's terrible.
And they tie it to the fact that they tied him to like
stupid.
A one-night stand that Tom Cruise's character suddenly fell in love with, and you're like, this makes no sense for a spy.
None of it makes sense.
None of that. He's like a Bond. No, he sleeps with people and discards them. It's no problem for him. It was so confusing.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one also has a villain problem too, and that's really the only problem that movie has, in my opinion. There's nothing really to talk about with that one.
Yeah, I'll get through it probably today or tonight or tomorrow.
So good. Sorry, but
let's get back.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get back to The Last of Us. Kyle, did you watch it? You have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I liked all the stuff that they added. I thought all the cast members that they've got, the girl who plays Tess from like Mindhunter and Fringe is awesome. I think she's perfect for the job. A little more, just they really held back on a lot of the violence in this, in this first episode. And I think, and that's maybe why they took out some of those shooting scenes, in the warehouse like the game has and stuff like that. Because I think it's gonna have this slow build. So like when something truly violent happens, it has that extra oomph,
Okay.
So I think they're gonna play around with the recipe of violence, in this show, and I think that will be the big change between.
I think Neil or somebody has been saying that too. Like, we cut back on violence, so when you do see it, you're like, oh shit, like, oh, this is
because Walking Dead is like you're desensitized to how people die in that show. Like by season 2, you're like, yeah, they rip people open. Okay, so it's every once in a while they'll kill the kid from Everyone Hates Chris, and you're like, oh, that was a good death. But that's like a once every 2 season, thing or whatever. Because they just shower you in just like gore and stuff like that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with gore. Gore's sick. It's metal, but like. I think weaponizing it in the show, so like when it hits, I think that's going to be super impactful.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that like they're really diving into the focus here was that like men obviously killed Sarah. It was men, not this virus, and men at the heart of people, humans, not men, but humans at the heart of the Last of Us story are the true monsters. Which is I think that. As long as they stick to that theme, which I'm sure they will, I think we're gonna. They
already nailed it in the pilot with like.
You don't even see any.
You can even sense it in the in the scene where like in how desensitized humans have become to being surrounded by death in the show, with the Phaedra agent who is trying to comfort this little girl, boy, whatever, and child. Gender is I don't know who that is. But anyway, the point is that it's like a falsely comforting them, but they cast such a perfect actor to make me believe what they were saying.
Oh yeah.
And then the next scene is something like tragic if you pay attention to like whatever. Yep. So the point is that they omitted the violent part and just showed you the aftermath, and even Joel is helping deal with the aftermath. He's desensitized to it too. He's just like, in the fire. It's just no big deal to these people now. It's just a way of life. They're really driving that home for sure. It's.
I always thought this about with the game too, but like now, especially with the show and them fleshing it out a little bit, like I'd almost kind of like a short, like maybe 1 or 2 episode thing of like right when shit hits the fan. Like I want to see like moments going on in the world of like all the craziness going on. Like there's just something like I don't know, just super interesting about like
hour one. I want to see like whenever the pandemic totally takes a shift and it's like you're outnumbered now, and like that moment, that first hour in any zombie movie, outbreak movie, or anything like that, when they choose to show that. Maybe that's what you're saying. That's like the best stuff.
Yeah. And like, and it's just the tone of this, like when she's walking outside and the eeriness and the planes flying over.
Oh, that plane scene.
And she goes in the house.
They were fighter jets. They were like.
Fighter. Yeah.
Holy
and then
shit.
and Joel and as they're doing kind of the Yui, and Joel's like, get back in the fucking house, and you see in the rear, she's like, Joel, what are you doing? And she's running to the person, but then the other, just jumps on. So it's like, oh my god, like there was something about like the extra little like kind of like touches that they threw in the show.
I have to throw out too, like the fact that they made the actual truck drive as chaotic as it was, if not more so than the game, because they had to flesh out more. But cinematically, they had the trickery going on where the camera's kind of staying with the whole thing the entire time. Very, very similar to how Children of Men literally. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the game itself was mirroring Children of Men, because that movie came out in like 2007 or 6 or something. Yeah, exactly. Because that's such a like huge moment in movie is cinema. Like that's such a huge moment in technical camera whatever movement. So like that was really awesome that they were able to pull that off for a TV show. Like this is just it still blows my mind that HBO does this every time with like House of the Dragon. You know, like Game of Thrones.
Looks expensive too,
Westworld,
dude. Like this show looked like at no point that it ever looked like oh, that looks like a set.
Oh, that's a soundstage. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
With,
like it just looks expensive to me.
With all this bull crap going on with HBO Max, though, are we concerned about a second season? I mean, I know we literally just only have gotten the first episode.
Kyle had a good logic behind it when he first tried to watch the show.
It crashed HBO. Everybody was having HBO problems because everybody was the viewer. No one is canceling a show that's crashing your app. You know what I mean? Like it's just not.
Unless they're like, well, listen, you're crashing our app, so we can't have it.
It's just not gonna happen, you know. And also like. The only reason why we wouldn't get a season 2 or why that wouldn't be good or why it doesn't really matter is season 1 is one complete story.
Right.
So like even if it doesn't move on for whatever reason, like we got that story. You know?
Yeah.
If we get the second arc or the second part of that story, aces. You know, it's just like.
Do we know how many episodes this is supposed to be?
I think it's 10.
Okay.
I think
if it ends where the first game did, then like I don't think any of us were like. I mean, I wasn't.
That's what they said.
I wasn't guessing this.
It does. It's the first season is the full first game. Yeah.
So I wasn't guessing. I wasn't guessing this at all because I hadn't played the first game yet. But I didn't sense anywhere on the radar that there was a second Last of Us 2 game coming out until they revealed it. I don't know why.
Nobody wanted one, and in fact, many times they said not every game is supposed to be a franchise.
Yeah.
Like Neil Druckmann was really vocal about. And then and people are still mad, which might be another reason why, you know, like if we don't get a season 2, at least we don't have to hear about people being mad about, you know, season 2 of the TV show.
I want the entire world of TV viewers to be mad as well. I want to defend on a different.
I want to be there to see a certain part.
Oh my god, it's gonna happen again. It's gonna happen again. It's gonna happen all over again.
People are gonna be so mad. Yeah, except it's gonna be 3 times the amount of people now.
It's actually 9 episodes for some reason. I think.
It's only 9.
I think it's because there's a couple supersized episodes in there.
Okay. I was gonna say they probably fleshed out.
They said
like,
that they expanded
the
the first episode to be this long. Like there was supposed to be 2 episodes. So
and that makes sense because what the show is a road story. It's like an on the road story. So the fact that they ended it kind of where they did in the first episode, I was like, yeah, that's where we want to go. Like that's exactly where all the gamers and viewers alike want to go. They want to go on the road, you know.
I told Jeff in chat, I've started that game 5 times. I've beaten it twice. And every single time I've started that game, I stopped right where this first episode stopped.
Yeah,
it's a good stopping point. It's an hour,
hour and a half in. There was a clicker on top of a roof that was screaming.
Oh,
did you see that?
No,
the final shot.
Yeah,
it was somebody zoomed in on TikTok and it was like a clicker just like screaming.
All right.
I was like, wow.
I mean, we saw the one like on the wall, so we saw like the design of it and the detail.
That looked so good.
That's the same visual effects artist that did like Vecna from like Stranger Things.
Oh,
This is like the guy in the industry now. So
I also have to give. I assume this was. Obviously, this is a partnership between Craig Mazin, the Chernobyl guy, and Neil Druckmann. But like, I assume the idea to open it on like a '60s flashback TV show was probably Craig's idea because he's had experience. That was kind of cool. So
I love that opening.
That was really cool, and that got the science jargon out of the way. We don't have to worry about this at all, like ever again. The rest of the show,
we're gonna use some real science here to talk about a fake thing. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Or really a real thing, but something that wouldn't.
There's none of those aha
real
moments
thing,
like
but it only
impacts
ants. I think.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's very fascinating.
It's kind of crazy though.
Yeah.
It's super crazy that something like that exists, and even cooler that like the games are based off that cordyceps mushroom as well, and just the whole idea. they made zombies scary again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then talking about the games too, and I think they're gonna redo it here. You know, because seeing something in live action, something in a video game, like it's gonna elevate it in some way as long as they nail it. And I think that like reinventing that in a way where, you know, seeing the spores like coming out of their eyeballs and everything that, you know, like by the time
clicky clacks that they do.
Yeah, and oh yeah,
Dude,
the noises are gonna be wild.
Would they?
You know?
I did not expect to see the mouth design the way
the
it
mushroom
was.
mouth.
Yeah,
Oh my god,
cool.
yeah, the like stuff coming out.
They didn't.
Oh
So
my
Neil
God.
said he didn't want the things to be passed through the spores, and that's another big change. Is like it's not airborne anymore. It's something that has to be like transmitted.
Yeah.
So like when you see a mushroom mouth like bite someone, like in slow motion, I saw someone break it down. Like parts of the mushroom falls like from like the mouth of the eater like into the wound. Or like as like the skin is like, you know, coming from the mouth, like, you know, mushrooms are staying behind or spores are staying behind.
So
and it's
disgusting.
just like it's gross, dude. Yeah, like it's and like that's
visceral.
We only saw one person really get bit up close in this first episode. Like we're gonna see a lot more, and
we're gonna see so
they're
much
probably
more.
just gonna get more gruesome and crazier. And I'm
I do
stoked,
love
man.
I love Bella Ramsey as Ellie. We haven't even touched on
She's
that
wonderful.
yet.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that I had any concerns, but I just hadn't seen her in an American accent role. And I think this is her first one, and she had to learn the accent for this role, and she nailed it, dude. She's got the personality down like completely.
She English?
So far. So like she's very
British,
British.
yeah.
Very British.
British.
She's a little bit.
All the
Does she
good
ever need
actors
bottles
and
of water?
actresses
No,
are
she
British.
Jesus, yeah.
Water.
Overall-
2023 guys, new jokes. We can't.
So overall, we like
We're always
it.
thirsty,
We're
though.
excited for
It's true.
Sunday. I think it's gonna be a good show.
I think
Yeah.
it's the next big show, I think, and I think more people are gonna spread the word. And like zombies, like people got tired of them, but like I think when people started explaining how different this is or how competent this is, it will be the next big water cooler talk like TV show that everyone's going to work and talking about,
And I mean-
being like, "Oh my God, did you see when they met those two brothers?" And it's like, "Yeah, you guys are in for a ride." Yeah.
I have a feeling that's gonna be like a two.
That's the
probably
other
gonna be
thing
like
I
a-
wanted to say is the guy playing Tommy. He doesn't look anything like him, but oh my God, he sounds exactly like him.
He nailed them, right?
He sounds exactly like Tommy from the video
Yeah.
game.
So
Exactly.
that's Diego Luna. I know him from playing Ghost Rider, like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I guess he was also the Terminator in that really bad Terminator movie.
Oh yeah, that is him, isn't it?
So that's him,
Dark
and
Flight.
I've always thought he was a good actor, even in like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's like, oh, you're really good for an ABC TV show. This is kind of crazy.
I
So
thought
like
he
him,
nailed
this is a
Tommy's
big, nice, juicy
did.
role for
He
him
did.
that like everyone's gonna remember him for. And like I'm telling you, he's gonna get a lot of roles after this. You know, you're gonna be seeing a lot of this guy for sure.
They better ask him back to be Ghost Rider again, because that was a great role for him. Honestly,
He was great in that. Yeah.
I gotta give a shout out to Merle Dandridge. I guess that's her name. She played Marlene in the video game, but she also plays Marlene in the show. And
She's the only actress from the video game
that's
that
gotta be
plays
one
the
of the
same
most-
character.
Oh, is that the
difficult-
same person?
Yes, it's got to be one of the most difficult transitions to be like, I was in a mocap suit when I did all this stuff before,
Right.
and now I gotta like act for real with my whole body.
Her
and
interviews
face.
are really good if y'all are interested in that and what
It's really
exactly what you're
enlightening.
talking about.
Definitely. Yeah. So she
That's
kind of
interesting.
nailed it. It was.
I always
great.
thought it was funny that, and I get it if the people don't look anything like your characters or whatever, but I always thought it was funny that you don't tend to see people who voice act a character if it ever goes to an action film like this or a show or whatever.
Yeah, you don't see it.
They don't get that role. Somebody else usually gets.
Well, and
the
it was
role.
perfect because she ended up being the perfect age for the role. You know what I mean? Like 10 years ago when the game came out, like she would have been too young for the role, you know?
Yeah,
sure.
To do it live action. So it's how serendipitous, like all those stars aligned and everything like that for her to just be like perfect for the role. Because remember, nobody else from the game reprised their role. We have some people from the game in the show, but
yeah,
like,
but
they're playing different characters.
Different characters, yeah, exactly.
So it's like, you know, she was the only one who fell in that bracket of being, you know, perfect, you know.
Do we know anybody else that was in the game that's in the show and like what character they are in
other
the
than
game and
Troy
the show?
Baker and
yeah, Troy
he's in
Baker
it?
is a
Ashley
member.
Jo-
He's in
he's
the
a part of David's Cannibal Crew.
Okay.
and then Ashley Johnson plays Ellie's
Ashley
mother.
Johnson, yeah.
Ellie's mother, yep.
Which
yeah.
is
which is
big role.
perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
definitely.
So
I guess
we'll get some flashbacks or something.
Oh yeah,
like
we're gonna
that,
get a lot of
yeah.
flashbacks. I can't wait. And we're gonna get the Riley story this.
Yeah, we got the DLC, and you don't have to pay for it. It's in
Yeah,
the
you don't
show.
have to pay
Alright,
for
cool.
it. It's
Yeah.
you don't have to
in the
waste
show.
your resources
Yeah, it's
on the
in the
resources
show.
they
Yeah,
waste.
and
Yeah,
that,
they
and
already brought her up. I think it was
Yeah,
they
she
did.
Marlene
did.
Yeah,
that said something.
Marlene brought her up. You know.
Yeah.
The actor is Storm Reed, who was the lead in the new movie that I saw, Missing.
Yeah, she's blowing
Yeah.
up. Oh.
She's awesome, dude. Holy crap.
Isn't she from God of War?
No, that's a different. I don't remember who that actress is.
Felt like
You're talking
that
about
girl was-
Angerboda. I don't remember who that actress is, but it's not her.
Okay.
She's
I
that
thought-
the actor they cast for that was like 14 or 15, and this girl is like 19 or 20 or something.
All right. So let's transition over to the next thing on our hit list, the 90s show. Did anybody watch this? I think this came out on Netflix, right?
It did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Haven't watched
Kyle,
it.
Okay.
Kyle and I finished it actually. We were.
Oh
kinda-
wow, really?
Yeah, we were both surprised at how breezy of a watch it was.
How many
Yeah.
episodes?
How many
is it?
episodes?
10 episodes,
20,
yeah.
Okay.
2-minute episodes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So,
It's the length of a sitcom. Yeah, exactly.
okay. That's totally fine. That's fine. Okay. And your thoughts on it? This is like, give me a
Fun, it's
little bit,
breezy.
like,
Yeah,
It's feel good
so
medicine.
this is a new show, right?
yeah.
It's a new show. Yeah, it's a
The sequel show,
continuation
right?
of that 70s show. So you have
Okay.
like Eric Foreman comes back
So we
and Donna
skipped the
comes back
80s.
and
They tried the 80s and it flopped.
Yeah, they did. They did. Yeah.
Yeah, they
did.
skipped the 80s
Yeah.
big time. And so like it's so you got some legacy characters. Really, it's the Red and Kitty show. Like I still feel like they get the most screen time over everybody. Really.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're great. They're always like feel good or whatever. His smile's
I
gonna
love
vary for
Red.
the show, man. This is not a show I'm gonna like go on Facebook and be like, everyone's gotta check this show out, especially if
Me
you like that
neither. Me
70s
neither.
show. I think even people who like that 70s show, I could see turning this on going like, nope.
Yeah.
But like, while I'm watching it, they're making glamour shot references and slap bracelet references and playing music from the 90s. I was like, yeah, I was there. I remember all this stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that
Nostalgia.
felt good.
Nostalgia.
That nostalgia felt good or whatever. And the kids, like the lingo they're using, I was like, yeah, I used to sound stupid like that talking, and
Yeah.
used to wear my dumb chili bowl haircut like Kelso's kid in this. Like
yeah.
I had that
Chili
haircut,
bowl
like.
haircut.
So it's just like there's a lot of things that like my little primitive monkey brain was just like going like, oh, that, like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
like so
I like
that felt
70s show.
that felt good, and I love that 70s show too. I grew up watching that show and always enjoyed
Yeah.
it. So like there
I
was
loved it so
just
much.
there was
That
a
was,
nice like. It's the way I imagine a lot of people who enjoyed Fuller House felt. You know what I mean? Where it's just like,
okay.
oh, I know all these people, and we're getting new kind of modern day stories or whatever with this.
Mhm.
Like I think I watched the first season of Fuller House, and I was like, oh yeah, I get what they're doing here, and then never watched it again.
Yeah.
This one-
I did the same
That's
thing.
Yeah, I was
exactly
like, yeah,
what I
sure,
do.
sure.
I watched it
but
with
this
my
one,
kids, and then never watched any.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
they
I don't know.
released more seasons.
it's this one felt a little better, like I
Okay,
I
good.
felt like a little like better to like log on somewhere and go, hey, I kind of like that. Where Fuller House, I was like, yeah, yeah,
Fuller
you know,
House is like extra goofy though, right? That's like
Oh yeah.
yeah,
it's like super
Well, and
goofy.
they're
like-
appealing to an entire family, whereas that 90s
Yeah.
show is doing the same thing that 70s show did, where they're dealing with things adolescents deal with, which is like talking about sex and drugs and stuff like that in a very candid way, but in a very
Yeah,
funny
yeah,
way
yeah.
too. So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Mhm.
they're doing a lot. They're dancing. They're towing a lot of the same lines that
They go to
70s
a
show.
rave in a warehouse,
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
at 1995, man. It's the peak of, like
It
the
is.
90s
It is.
rave scene, dude. So
That's
it's
Mortal
like,
Kombat came out that year. Yeah, raves were hopping.
Oh,
with
dude,
that
the
soundtrack
raves were
going on in the
hopping, dude.
background.
Yeah. So it's like, it's like, just shit. I used to do it as a kid too. We'd hear about a farm rave down the road, and like we would all get rides there somehow and go to it, So it's like it's a good time.
I'm very curious about one element. Do they in any way, shape, or form bring up who, Mr. Scientologist?
No, they don't.
No, they haven't even brought it. And you see almost
Nah.
everybody except him, and whoever came
And
in.
then
at
the
the last
people that
season.
died, like
Randy,
I think,
it was whoever the
I
other
think,
guy is that comes in the last
I
season.
think the
His,
girl that
Eric's
played
sister,
Eric's sister died, so like
Yeah.
she's not in it.
or the
obviously.
first,
They don't even
the
talk
first
about
actress. The first
Yeah,
actress.
they did recast her, but they didn't bring the recasted sister back either.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, they just
So
don't even
she like
mention
died in
people
real
that-
life,
Yeah.
not in like the show.
Yeah, no, yeah, that
Yeah,
actual
yeah, yeah.
actress like was suffering from substance abuse issues that entire show. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
And
the
then some.
blonde. I
Yeah,
think I know what
yeah.
you're talking about.
very
Okay.
popular.
So it's interesting that they chose to not mention anybody that's not on screen, basically. Like anybody that's
Just
not
dead to the
in the
universe, yeah.
show, like they're just completely written out completely.
That's crazy.
In an unspoken way, which is kind of strange. I don't really. I didn't love the show. It's not like something I'll sing the praises of from mountaintops or whatever, kind of like Kyle's
Yeah.
saying. But like, yeah, if they
Is this
come
like
out
Swimming in
more, I will
Sevens?
watch it. You know,
Yeah, I'll watch
definitely-
another season.
It's a Swimming in
Sure.
Sevens TV show, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
big time. And the
Yeah.
kids will be a little older, and like the problems will be a little more mature, and that's what they're going for. Just like that '70s show, like it just
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's just like it's supposed to be somebody's show that you're growing at, like the Wonder Years or something like that, but a little more comedy, focused. But like these shows are important for kids, and it's important for us to sometimes goes back and be like, yeah, that's kind of how it was back then,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
someone is showing their kids this, going, hey, this is just like people, maybe our parents showed us that '70s show and be like, yeah, that's pretty much how it was, like.
I
So
can
it's just,
see.
there's a generational handshake going on with this show that happened with the first one.
Yeah. I can definitely see like one of my dad's favorite TV characters of all time is Red, because he's like,
Yeah.
it's deep down. He's like, I want to talk like that guy. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just somebody that he identifies.
My foot in your
something
ass.
that's-
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
someone's
foot-
foot in
yeah.
someone's ass. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And there's
Put me in that.
there's a brilliant circular moment, a payoff moment in like the first episode where a character says that, and Red is so proud. It's amazing. It's such a great moment. But yeah, we get a lot of Red in this, and I enjoyed the
Good.
hell out of that. So at least there's that. Yeah, I used to watch that '70s show. Like it was like we ate dinner and watched it as a family. Like we loved
cool.
that show.
Oh,
as a
nice.
family.
Yeah.
Except for that last season, because
Oh, yeah,
freaking
we don't talk about that.
Topher had to just leave. He's like, I'm too big for this show. So
Yeah, he had to go to
all
Africa.
that stuff he's doing now.
yeah, all that stuff he's doing. Yeah.
He's in that ABC show Home Economics. He's actually it's actually a pretty funny show.
So you could say he's missing, which
Ah.
leads us
Oh,
to
wow.
our
Oh
next.
my God,
Sure.
That was good. I almost thought Tim was here
it
for a
was
second.
pretty decent. Yeah,
So that
Tad?
leads us to our
Tad?
next
Tad?
and final main highlight of the evening, and that is the new movie called Missing, which
Yeah.
is, well, they had a Searching that came
did.
out.
yeah.
This
Did you
is
guys-
not
did anybody see
related as
that?
far as I did not watch Searching.
No.
Did
Because I know
anybody-
it's hard to sell people like, oh, this entire movie happens on computer screens and webcams and stuff. It's really hard to sell people on a full movie of that. But Searching was actually really well done. Like, and the
I
story
really
was
love these just
really
one-word,
interesting.
names of
Yeah,
movies and stuff.
and
like
Missing-
Plane. Can you tell us about Plane?
Missing, yeah, dude. At least this title makes sense. Plane makes no sense. It's like you're naming things that are in the movie. Oh, why not call it Knife or Island? It makes
There's
no
a
sense.
car in that one scene. It's called Car.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, there is a movie called The Island. So
They should have called it Pilot, which apparently they were going to, and Gerard Butler was like, "Nah, man, we got to call it Plane. It means more."
Whatever, dude.
He's such an idiot.
it means
Gerard
more.
Butler,
What does
yeah.
that mean?
But
Plane.
so with Missing is actually in the same universe as Searching. So
Oh.
like it opens with them watching a Netflix adaptation of the story from Searching.
It's all part of the misplaced
Right.
universe
Oh, that's
or
pretty
something
cool.
like that.
Yeah, it's part of like whatever that universe is. Like,
The
it's
missing
like true. It's like they're all true crime stories, but they the way that it's filmed is all on like computer screens,
Yeah.
phone screens.
Are these like horror at all? Like, is there any like
No, they're
anything
thrillers.
scary about it?
Yeah, maybe
Huh?
thriller.
There's nothing scary about it, but there are some very, very tense moments because it's like it's you're watching a character in real time discover things about people they thought they knew by like hacking into their Gmail or something like that, and like they're finding all of these details. Like in this particular movie, Storm Reed plays whatever the lead, and her mom goes out of town with her new boyfriend, and she goes to pick them up at the airport, and her mom and her new boyfriend are not there at all. So that's when it becomes like a missing persons thing. And so it's like pretty much trying to find somebody in the current era. That's what the focus is on Searching as well as Missing. But with Missing, they're able to add other elements of social media like TikTok and stuff like that. So like they show so much of like Apple Watches too, because they have cameras now.
Interesting.
So like they're using in such creative ways, they're using current technology to tell the story. And she always has, she uses like an Apple whatever laptop, and she always has like her webcam up because she's doing FaceTime all the time. So you're still seeing her face the whole movie, like reacting to things and stuff like that, or talking to somebody else that's in the room with her. But yeah, the story reveals like had me on the edge of my seat, dude. Like I was very surprised. I was surprised by Searching too. I went into that movie going, this is gonna be ass. Like this is a horrible idea for a movie. And that story kind of ended up flooring me a little bit. And this one even more so. I felt like they capitalized on a lot of things that, like cinematically, it was just more interesting to watch. There was like a transition where she's texting her friends about her mom being out of town, so she's gonna have some parties and use money that her mom gave her for booze. And she's typing to her friends, "Let's go." And then it transitions into like a black screen, and the text changes to the title of the movie. It says "Missing," and I'm like, "Damn, that was slick!" Like, there's some really impressive stuff going on in this movie.
Cinema.
It's cinema. To me, that's cinema.
Cinema.
That's my Martin Scorsese.
What is this on?
Is Searching on anything like any streaming services that are
keep
free?
asking like the same thing.
Well, because I watched.
No, it's just funny.
I'm a big fan of Jeremy Jahns, and so even if I'm not that interested in like a movie, I'll still watch his reviews. And so he reviewed this movie today, and I was like, okay, I actually want to watch this and Searching. Which
Searching is on FX.
Okay.
But not on Hulu. It's on like FX proper, meaning you have to pay extra.
Watch it. Yeah, you have to pay.
Stupid.
Too many streaming services, man.
It's too many.
Just pirate, dude.
Bubbles bursting. It's bursting.
Yeah,
I'll watching it first.
It's so good, man. And like there were actually like really funny jokes too in the movie that I can't even remember any of them, but I remember in the moment. She was trying to hack into. She's basically just guessing passwords and brute forcing her way into accounts so she can see what's going on with her mom's boyfriend or with her mom. And there was a part where after she entered the password, it says "prove you're a human," and it has the little like press the squares that have a bus in the picture, and she like hesitates for like a few seconds on one part that has a sliver of a bus on it. And I was like, okay,
we've all been
that's
there.
really funny. I was like the only one that laughed because I was like, okay, that's really funny. Like I have that dilemma every single day. But yeah, there's some humor in it too. It's not all tense, but that final I would say the final 45 minutes, the second half of the movie basically, it's all really intense, like edge of your seat stuff. Great reveal and resolution. It's really well done. I'm very surprised that this gimmicky movie is actually good. The Jeremy praise it
because they nailed the story. And
definitely.
Apparently, it has a lot of twists and turns. So I'm a sucker for a good mystery. Like I watched what was it? The Onion, Knives Out, whatever.
Glass Onion.
I love stuff like that.
Oh, me too.
Mysteries.
And the genius part about Glass Onion is that the title of it is telling you there's nothing really that complex about the story at all. Like the most obvious thing is staring at you in the face about the story. And that's kind of what the whole speech is at the end too about as well. But that's kind of the brilliant part about that and Knives Out in a sense is like they're not really hiding anything from you about who did it. It's just about the characters finding out who did it. And they write that stuff really well. It's kind of the same thing with Missing, and I found that I can't remember Searching at all now, but I remember really liking it. But yeah, you would if you like that thriller, like you got to keep them guessing type of stories. You're definitely gonna like this, man.
That's my. I'm a sucker for a murder mystery or a mystery in general.
Yeah, it's a missing person mystery. Yeah, and I think they're gonna keep doing that. They're gonna keep telling these stories about like missing people, but like titled it something different, kind of like Searching or Missing or whatever. I'm on board, man. Give me more of that. And I meant to ask, what did Jeremy? Did he like it? Did he say he liked it?
He liked it.
Good. What did he say?
Did he? Drunk.
Did he say? He said, "Good time, no alcohol required." Is that what he said? Okay,
correct.
Cool.
Yeah,
I like his rating system. It's a good rating system.
He liked it more than Searching, and he liked Searching. So he was actually shocked by how good this was and how many twists it had. And I was like, man, you're really selling me.
I might watch Searching after this podcast. Is it not long or?
It's like an hour and a half. It's really short.
Yeah. So then that's
especially for its
nice,
gimmick. But yeah, that one has John Cho in it.
John Cho. Yeah.
Missing has way more people.
You could watch that, or you could watch Mission Impossible too.
Yep. You could do that.
I could watch. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Been a while.
Okay. Hey, I've been listening to Stain lately.
Hey, they got some good songs.
I like some good songs.
So let's go over some headlines. let's go with the first one's a super shocker here. Callisto Protocol reportedly has not met publisher sales expectations.
Get out of
That's
here.
a real big shocker. It's a real big shocker. I can't think of any reasons why.
Well, I think it's because they spent so much effing money on the game that it was going to be impossible to meet any of their expectations. That's just absurd. Like they spent.
I think
apparently
their
they
budget
spent
was probably
the equivalent.
pretty bad.
Yeah, they spent the equivalent of $162 million on the game.
And a
Right,
lot
but
of that was
bad
marketing,
budgeting-
because I haven't seen a game so marketed in
Yeah.
a long time.
True,
Like that was
true.
one of the most marketed games I'd seen in years.
Yeah, it was everywhere. It was
Which is
paid-
good. Like you
paid
should do
ads
that.
everywhere.
Like,
Yeah.
but like, boy, that makes that climb to get your budget back a little higher. Whenever you're.
Yeah, but I think that at this point, okay, so here's where I'm going to go with this. When games like Dead Space and stuff were coming out, you could sell those games to people even if they're just 6 to 8 hours long,
Mhm.
because games were a little bit cheaper and gamers were different. Like I'm
Mhm.
not saying that every gamer is a multiplayer only. We've proven that single player games sell.
Yes.
But I think selling to Game Pass audiences now a 6 to 8 hour game at $70, which is a price hike that just recently happened. So you've still
Yep.
got people backlashing against that. I've seen a lot of people that are like, I won't buy a new game. I won't buy a new game.
I've seen a lot
So
of that
trying-
too, which is
So
crazy
trying
me.
to sell a 6 to 8 hour game plus your reviews and the complaints about how the game ran on PC and stuff like that didn't help your cause either. So I think they just had a lot of bad
an uphill
decisions
battle.
on their end, and and then they didn't actually like if it would have reviewed to a place where people were talking about this is better than Dead Space,
Yeah.
if we might be talking about something different. Maybe they end up breaking even. But I think a lot of people, once they got a hold of those reviews, they were like, I'll just wait until this game's either on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Game Pass does hurt sells a lot.
Yeah.
I'll wait for it to go on Game Pass, or I'll wait for it to be $20. Because that's just, to me, that's where a lot of gamers are now.
Yeah.
They will
agree.
wait because they know there's a good shot that
Well,
they're gonna.
and now there's like this trend of like games going on sale 2 or 3 weeks after they come out, So it's
Sure.
like
I mean, Callisto
you know,
Protocol's
it
on sale
happens.
right now.
it's on sale right now on PS5, yeah.
Yep.
How much?
Like 20%, 20-something% off.
25%.
Oh, I didn't know if you had it up in front of you. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
It's like $20
Exactly.
off.
so I mean,
it's-
and like
Not too
to
bad.
bring the real world like things going on, like inflation's terrible and things are
Oh,
tough,
yeah.
and I mean, who wants to throw $70
It
on
came
a
out-
6 to 8 hour
People
game?
are picking
Yeah.
and choosing right now.
It came out in a pretty bad time too, like with all these other AAA games that came out. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that Need for Speed Unbound and Midnight Suns did great numbers either.
People were still high off God
But-
of War, though.
I mean,
you
it's
know?
the one that I've
Still got
God of War
people either
Ragnarok is
buying that
still
who haven't
happening.
bought it yet because
Yeah.
they're getting it for Christmas. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
that game was it's probably still distracting.
This
to
felt more.
releases.
This definitely felt more niche than a Marvel game and a race, an established franchise racing game. Like it definitely
Yeah.
felt like a harder sell for general audience.
Well, like
gamers.
horror games are actually really popular. It's just that it was a new IP. I think. I think
Yeah,
that's the
That's what I
thing.
mean by
You're
niche.
selling a new
Yeah.
idea.
Okay. Yeah,
I
yeah.
bet you it still probably sold better than both Need for Speed and. But like,
Probably.
but like,
But
if
not
I had
compared
to
to
take
the
a
budget.
guess,
Yeah.
I don't
what
know
you're
that.
saying.
But in terms of making its budget back, yeah, it didn't
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
I think
mean,
the only
yeah.
franchise that can get away with doing what I just said that they did that they shouldn't have done is Resident Evil. I really think that's the only franchise that can get away with overspending, over marketing,
Yeah, because their
and
marketing
still
campaigns are pretty
releasing
big.
a 6 to 8 hour game. Now, also keep in mind that Resident Evil games do usually have some type of multiplayer attached to it, and people do.
Well, and there's
like-
an arcade like feeling of replaying those games over and over and over.
Yeah,
again,
I
too.
think that was a big mistake because I've said it in our chat, and I've probably said it on the podcast. I would have already beaten Callisto Protocol a second or third time if they would have had New Game Plus ready.
Yeah,
Like
but ready now?
I played Resident Evil Village 3 times back to back to back. Like boom,
game.
boom, boom, because it gets more fun as you play it because you know
Yeah.
what's coming.
You're
and you
unlocking
become
And you're
stuff,
so
like-
powerful, yeah.
so you just blow through everything, and it's just like it's super fun.
But again, the game
I-
itself does have its. I mean, like we discussed it. I mean, for me personally, like the repeating of bosses is like, all right, well, like so you ran out of resources. Like, what's the deal with that? And the dodging thing could be a bit fickle. You know, like
People
there's
didn't
just
like that. People just didn't like that mechanic. I don't have a lot of strong feelings on it, but like more people dislike it than like it. So now you have a word of mouth that the combat's not good. You know, like it's a hard sell, dude. You know, it ends up being a hard sell.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Unfortunate because I actually, again, I'm not saying it's a failure. I'm sure at some point they'll make their money back.
Yeah.
Remember, the game's going to keep selling. It's not like people are.
If it does go on Game Pass, they'll get a big chunk of money for it. If it doesn't, people will buy it on sale. Like it might have some legs to it.
I think they'll at least break even or make some profit out of it eventually. But it's unfortunate because I want to see. I would like to see a Callisto Protocol too.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we will though, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think they leave you, you know, without spoiling it, they leave you with like, hey, you want to, there's a cliffhanger, like there's more. DLC, they set you up for the DLC and a sequel. So, we also have leaked Suicide Squad game image appears to confirm battle pass. Does anybody care about this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a huge debate when this image leaked because everybody was like, "Oh, it's a game as a service then, right?" There's this thing coming out of like message boards like 4chan where I think they leaked GTA 6 stuff there too. And like all this stuff does is just stir up debate. And just nonstop arguing and nonstop like you know, crapping on a thing. And then to the point where the developer has to go, that's not what's happening here. Like, you know, this game is so early.
I have to make a statement on an out of context leak, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like apparently, so like they have a battle pass, which people saw that, and then they saw like a number next to it, and they assumed that meant in-game currency. And it's not. That wasn't in-game currency. The developer later said, no, that's like XP. Like, and you use XP to like basically just skill up. You know, you basically, it's not like. Basically, the battle pass is just cosmetics. That's it. So this is
that's why
that's
why I read it the way I read is because what I'm trying to say is I don't give a shit. I don't care if they have a battle pass. I don't care.
We have not even seen true gameplay in this game yet. So what are we mad about? Like what is being compromised? Like there has been no information on this game. Like,
there is an obsession with humans on social media that I know it's driven by they want attention. That's the bottom line. But they do this. They pull stupid stuff and they try to make stories out of nothing. It's almost like to beat their chest. Like, did you see what I discovered? Did you see what I posted? Did you see what video I made?
I'm dialed in, dude.
Nobody cares, bro.
And they're
the people that argue over this are stupid.
But some people do, and those are the people arguing. You know,
and they're so eager to like automatic, like they're like dying to hate on something because I saw so many tweets. I saw so many tweets about this image that were like, "Well, I guess I'm out on this game." I'm like,
Rocksteady's dead to me.
Like, what the hell? Like you haven't even seen gameplay.
That's what I think is sad is when I see people jump to stuff like that.
I just don't know what's being compromised because we haven't really seen the game except for some cutscenes.
I mean,
some like seconds of gameplay.
It could literally be photoshopped. That's the thing. Like, I mean, has people not heard of deep fakes? Like literally, like that's a thing. Like, so why does everyone just assume they see a fucking static image and they're like, well, clearly this is the thing. So now I'm not going to play. It's like you're a moron.
That's the thing. It wasn't even like it wasn't even like the menu in action scrolling through the submenu.
Yeah,
it was literally just a screenshot of the main menu.
Somebody could just Photoshop that. Like, why are people so unbelievably?
It's so weird. Yeah, people have like portable pitchforks and torches, dude, and they're just ready. They're just ready to line them up, bro.
They're very tiny, but they have them.
Yeah, they're extendable, right? You know, like where you press the button, they go, and then you can light it up.
Like those batons, right? Like those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, telescopic. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm still excited for this game. It's not going to change anything about my opinion.
It's Rocksteady, man. They've literally never made a bad game. Literally,
I just think it's sad that
I guess
we try to make news out of nothing. I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
All right,
I only put that in there so we could clarify the developer said it's not a freaking game as a service.
I'm fine. I kind of want to tell people there. I just wanted to make sure I shamed I just wanted to make sure I shamed stupid people that make.
You're arguing about this. You're a lesser person.
Yeah,
Definitely.
All right, so on more positive news, Midnight Suns, The Good, the Bad, and the Undead DLC drops January 26th.
Wow.
So if you're listening to this show, the DLC is about ready to drop. Because about like a little bit after our show launch.
This is the so they have 4 DLC content packages, whatever, planned, and like Deadpool, Venom, Morbius, and Storm are going to be added as playable, like, well, not playable, but like friends or whatever, characters, allies. This is the Deadpool one. And I think they showed the trailer and the voice actor and stuff. I think he's got like a little more deeper. He's not Ryan Reynolds, basically. They're not.
Yeah, they're not
imitating anybody that's existing in the MCU or whatever.
So if I buy this DLC, can I play with Deadpool in the main campaign, or is he only available in the DLC?
I don't really know how they're going to put it in, but
Me neither.
The way that I understand it is that like you'll get a series of missions that will introduce the character, unlock them so you can use them in your team. And there's and also with these missions come new villains. So like there's arcs of missions that you're going to get. And as Jeff and I have talked about the cycle before of that game, like after you do a mission, you go back to the house, and that's when you do your interactions. So like for me, where I've interacted with everybody and I've depleted everybody, I'll just have to do Deadpool, you know, and stuff like that. But for you guys, I think like the mission will just show up probably on the map, you know, like the war table map.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Yeah.
You know, maybe there's a level block to it where it's like, hey, you might want to be level 15 to unlock him or something. They haven't really discussed that, but I have a feeling the second you buy that and turn on the game next time, he'll just be ready. And if y'all are earlier in the game, y'all will get way more time with this character than someone like me who's just gonna have those new missions to play.
That's a good point. I should probably
y'all may have chosen right by like, you know, maybe playing this game a little slower than I was.
Yeah.
Well, you got to enjoy it and talk about it in the game of the year, whereas I was just like, yeah, it's good.
It exists.
I'm 12 hours in, and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm nowhere near the end of this game because I'm just taking everything so slow and
enjoying. Isn't it like a 40-hour game or something? Like 20?
Yeah, I ended up putting about 40 to 55. So I think it was like 55 hours when I was all set.
I think that's kind of what intimidated me. I was like, I don't have time for that. But again, we talked about it earlier. I will find a way. That is another game that you can definitely play as a.
You know, we used to normalize playing games over the course of a year, and now there's this like rush culture, which I'm a part of, where it's like we got to beat this game immediately.
Oh yeah.
You really don't have to. You could take that 40-hour game and you can play it all year. Just chip away at it. You know.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong
with
that. I think they want. I think they even want you to do that too.
That's what you want to do, and you can do it.
It's true. Yeah.
Yep, I'm definitely going to continue to do that. I like doing that, like I said earlier. All right, so this is kind of leading into what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Microsoft is now this. Before I read this is happening across the board with like all those right now. This is normal, but that's not what we're going to talk about. Microsoft is laying off 10,000 employees in Q1, affecting Bethesda and Xbox 343, which is what I'm really going to talk about.
343 has been doing this, like this people leaving because they're tired of Microsoft's management. Like they've been doing this for months, right? So
yeah. Since Halo came out, really.
It's like they saw writing on the wall and they were like, let's get the hell out of here before they lay everybody off, you know, like.
Well, I'm just so disappointed. Again, none of what I'm about ready to say, none of this is confirmed, and I don't know if it'll ever be confirmed because this is not news that Microsoft would want out. But I don't like the fact that, like, let me start off by saying I absolutely loved Halo Infinite's campaign. I played a little bit of multiplayer. Yep. It's fun. I'm a big fan of the campaign. I, in fact, started a second playthrough where I was doing it co-op with Jesse White. I love it. It's just so much fun. I love the world. I love the gameplay. I love everything about it.
Me too, man.
That being said, I'm completely disappointed at how rushed, even though this game was in development for 7-8 years, how rushed some of the parts of the campaign felt. Like you could definitely tell they were like, hey, we're going to make an open world game. Oh shit, we don't have enough content because we don't have enough time. Like I know if they were managed more properly, there would have been more content in that open world. Yeah. They definitely had to rush things. It wasn't managed very well. The launch wasn't managed very well. The delay wasn't managed very well. Nothing about this game was managed well at all. And now, to top it off, what did they cut? couch co-op, which was stupid. People were
Oh, it's cut
literally
completely. Jeez.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
they cut
not
it
going to
completely.
launch.
We're not doing that anymore.
And it sounds like, again, this is not official, but I can almost guarantee you this is official. They have probably laid off anybody who was any extras that were working only on single player, and they're not going to release anything to add on to the single player campaign. So we're not going to add on any DLC. We're not going to add any content. The single player campaign, where it's at right now, is that's
what
all
it
you
is.
get.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely disappointed in that. I think that's so stupid. Again, I don't do their budgeting, but I think that's more from mismanagement than just we
Definitely.
don't have the money. And then on top of that, this is impacting Bethesda as well. I think a lot of that has to do with like, when are you going to release a game?
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
Starfield's coming, but you're Bethesda. You're not just Starfield. Like there's nothing coming out of the pipeline, and Microsoft is going to, again, some of these layoffs are just going to happen just because, first of all, we've been in the gaming industry or covering the gaming industry long enough to know once a project's done, there are going to be people that get laid off. That's
It's the nature of the beast. Yeah.
the nature of the job. You're not a full-time employee forever. For a lot of companies, for some you are, but for me, these layoffs are more significant because to me it directly points a finger at Phil Spencer. Like when Phil Spencer first took over, and I liked him. I'm not saying I don't like him now, but I liked him. He was getting overly praised for all the great things he's doing, and now I'm looking at him going, yeah, here's what he was doing in the beginning. He was announcing games, and then some of those games came out, but a lot of them aren't coming out. And now we're in the same cycle again where we've bought a ton of studios. We announced a ton of games. Like, do you guys remember, what was it? Was it close to 2 years ago where they announced all these games from all the new studios?
They're like, hey,
was like
all the studios
13,
we just bought, here are all these games that are coming out from them.
Where are those games?
Dude, I don't know. They went a whole generation last
Where are they?
generation with like under 10,
Yes.
Yeah.
like flagship game. Like, how do you do that whole generation and like you
It's
barely
been
hit double
over
digits?
a
Like,
year since you've released a AAA experience that was worthy of like top 10 or
Yeah.
Game of the Year talks, and that's Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5, which both those games are absolutely amazing. But
Yeah.
I am going to point out Halo's existed for 25 years. Forza Horizon has existed since Xbox 360 days. These aren't even new IPs. These are just, hey, we're gonna do a sequel, and they're great. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I loved both of them. They were both in my top. Halo was my game of the year, I believe, and then I think Halo or Forza Horizon was top 5. So they're both amazing, but what I want is the new IPs. I
stuff,
want
yeah.
better management. I
So-
want you to start flowing stuff out. You have enough
Is-
studios to do that.
Because whenever we have one of these, and obviously the past like 3-ish years have been a little different, but it's always Phil that's like the one that's like, hey, I'm the guy. Like when Xbox is doing a thing, Phil's coming out, he's like, I'm the one in charge, right? It's just Phil, right?
Yeah,
as far
I mean,
as like the gaming side, yeah, like he
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
he's
So-
the big.
I don't
big
know if he
boss
has
man.
direct managerial stuff over like the individual teams. You know,
So
I think
that's-
there's probably other people in between. Those two
So that's
jobs. But...
so then that's the point I'm trying to make, because like for years with Sony, you'd see all these different individuals. It wasn't just one person coming out.
Speaking on the behalf of 14 different
like,
studios. Yeah.
I can't remember his name, the last like main dude. But he would come out, kind of do a beginning speech, but then there was always there was like a hierarchy. There'd be like the European like kind of like, guy representing sort of certain things there, and then a different, like there would be multiple individuals, and obviously they get their games out. It does sometimes maybe take a little while, but like Sony, it has obviously released lots of first party exclusive games, and they exist, and they have a lot of those different franchises. So I think I'm wondering if it's just I'm wondering if just Phil Spencer is just stretched thin. Like he's just doing too much on his own. Like I don't know. Like
No,
I
I
don't
think he's
know.
just. I think
Yeah.
he's just the face of it, and I think there is a structure in place. I think the company
Yeah.
is so poorly mismanaged as a whole that it's just trickling down to
Yeah.
like every studio they own, every little sub project.
Well, then they need
Skype,
to
whatever,
shuffle
like,
things around. Then
yeah,
they need
I
to
think
shuffle
so
it
too,
around.
or
Like,
And which
they
is what
need
they're
a better
doing. I mean, they're
structure,
firing
like,
people, you know.
yeah,
So,
I guess.
you know, but this is what EA did a long time ago. Is they bought up a whole bunch of studios. A lot of those studios never released a game, and they shut down completely. So it's like, and I foresee, you know, a good
And
fraction of the
Microsoft
studios that
has
Microsoft
done
purchased.
that.
This is going to happen to them, you know.
And Microsoft's done that in the past. Do you know how excited I was when Rare was initially bought from, or when
Rare
Microsoft
went like
originally
15
bought
years without releasing a real
Rare?
game.
I was so ecstatic. You have to understand, Killer Instinct was one of my all-time favorite games and franchises.
They made
Here,
Donkey Kong Country.
Microsoft, my favorite game developer, is buying my favorite studio.
Perfect Dark.
Where's my Killer Instinct game from Rare? It didn't exist. I got a Killer Instinct game, and it was actually
Rare didn't do it.
amazing. But even that, they didn't support it very well. But like, they don't take care of their studios. Like, Rare was bought, and then we got nothing from them. What did we get? What's that pirate game that Tim likes?
Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves came out, what, 2 or 3 years ago?
That was
It took
very
them,
longer
like,
than that.
15
Longer
years.
than that.
Okay.
3-4 years ago.
But it probably took like 10 or 12 years for us to get like a Rare original.
Yeah, it was a long time. Yeah, it was a long time.
And then there's been other studios. Look at Fable. Fable was not a dying franchise.
No, it wasn't. Fable 2 won Game of the Year and was one of the highest selling, you know, games of all time. Like it's.
But you had a
crazy.
good franchise, and you mismanaged that.
They
to
shut
where we
down
haven't
that studio. That studio doesn't exist anymore. You know.
So nothing they do is what I'm trying to say is nothing they do makes any logical sense.
Yeah.
The fact that they're even number 2 is actually amazing, and that's why I'm in no way a pony. But I said it on last week's podcast. PS5 destroys Xbox Series X for me. I am now a PlayStation guy. Release the games. That's all I care about. I'm going to play on my PC and my PlayStation 5. I do not care about my Xbox anymore. I want them to release games, of course, still.
It's going to be a
because they have
Skybound machine here pretty soon, or
a
Starbound.
ton of developers I care about. But I'm just disappointed that they run things so inefficiently. It's really, really.
I have to imagine that the only studio that's actually churning out good stuff regularly is watching all this on the sidelines, and they're like, "Oh, that sucks." It's Obsidian.
Right.
It's Obsidian. Obsidian is like, they're doing great. They're doing great.
Yeah, they make some smaller games, some bigger games, like
even the Forza. I would say the Forza studio.
So like,
Playground.
Yeah.
Playground. And then Microsoft Studio proper.
But Microsoft is mismanaged Fable to the point where they had to give it to Playground, and now they're probably drowning too. You know, like
now they have 2 big franchises.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind
They're like, we only do races.
Are you kidding me? We make racing games.
Yeah. So Obsidian's over there just going, we're just going to stick with what we do, man. Like, we got Grounded as a service game.
I don't know why you wouldn't give Obsidian Fable. Like that will never not make sense to me is why they didn't give Obsidian Fable.
Well, it was probably maybe they didn't grab them in time for that, or
maybe. But also Playground's really good because they have really, and I think Playground's going to make a fantastic game. But like
they make a great
it was
world,
right there. So, you had the best RPG makers
awesome,
out there. You have one of the best RPG franchises.
And instead you were like, do Outer Worlds 2, and I'm like, just have them do Fable, man. What do you?
Yeah, right. Even though I'm super excited for Outer Worlds 2.
Me
so,
too.
Yeah,
I love
dude.
Where's that
I'm
game?
literally just bitching because I just want a game. I'm not even saying you got to release Fable. You want to take 2 or 3 years for Fable, fine. Give me something to get excited about Xbox. You're not doing anything.
Restore
Game Pass is great, but that's not why I bought an Xbox.
Scalebound great again.
I will say, maybe this time next week we'll be like, well, guys, they had their conference, and I guess we got to eat some crow. We got.
I'd be happy to do that.
That'd be amazing.
I have a feeling they're going to announce some updates that they're not going to make. And I bet.
But the problem is I'm bitching about them not announcing games. I'm bitching about them not releasing stuff. They have been very good about overly announcing. That's probably why I'm mad. Is like you come out and you're like, we bought this studio, and they've got 17 games in development.
They swing big.
None of them come out.
They come out the gate swinging.
Where is that game? Where is it?
What's one?
Scalebound 2?
Hellblade 2.
Not Hellbound. What is the other?
Hellblade.
Hellblade. Thank you. Not Hellbound.
Hellblade,
Yeah. Where the hell is that game?
Sacrifice or whatever it is.
I thought
Where is that game?
Honestly, I thought that game would be out by now.
Yeah, I thought I
What the heck
honestly
is
thought
that
that
game?
would have been in the discussion for last year's list. Like, that's so
It's
insane that
dude,
we
it's
still have
completely out
nothing
of
on that
control.
game.
It's absolutely completely out of control.
Yeah.
This year they have to release Forza Motorsport. They have to release
Redfall.
Starfield and Redfall.
Redfall
Those,
for sure is
you
coming out.
have to at least release those 3 games. If you don't, to me, that's just a complete failure
with
again, especially after last year.
With the third-party games that are going to be coming out this year, I mean, if they do manage to get their shit together and release 2-3 first-party games or something, at least, it's going to be a pretty insane year. But I mean, we have to.
I
Big
think
year for them if they
I
do
think
it, you
some
know.
of these companies need
But
to
then are
start
we going
looking
3
for,
more years without games from them? You know, like is
Yeah.
Sure.
I
Like
think
they
they
put
gotta
out
start
3.
looking
They put
at
out 3
June and
games in a year, and then we
July.
have a huge
Yeah, and then-
sabbatical again.
And then they're
like,
just gonna lean on Obsidian to do more AA games. Like, I mean, come on, you can't just keep doing
they're
this.
busy.
Like,
They have that Avowed game or whatever that they're
Yeah.
whatever. You know, like it's just like leave that
Yeah,
poor
where's
team
that?
alone. Like,
yeah,
Obsidian's literally there's like one guy in the basement, like, guys, I'm working on Avowed by myself because you guys keep releasing like
yeah,
these dumb
right.
shit
We want a
games.
new
Can I get
South
some
Park
help,
game,
please?
and we want a new. But also the CEO of Avowed, one of the founders, he said, before I retire, I want to make another Fallout game. So it's like we might be getting that. They might be making a Fallout game here soon.
Dude,
It's
imagine
just
New
like,
Vegas 2.
That's what it probably
It's
be.
almost like Microsoft owns all the rights to do that. It's weird.
It's like they
could
have
do that.
everything
And
that
just
they
sit
could
on
write
them.
off to do it all in house. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
crazy.
so weird.
And like
at least
Jeff
with a
said, I hope next week when we record the show, I hope all of us are like, well, we were kind of fucking assholes, and Microsoft
Same,
failed
yeah,
us.
I'll be happy
That'd be
to.
amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't said shit. So you guys.
I was gonna say,
You
at
don't
least
even
Disney,
know anything.
At least Disney, when they buy these companies and whatever and become a monopoly, quote unquote, even though they're not,
Sure.
at least they're using those properties that they bought and going,
Sure.
They
hey,
bought Star Wars.
Yeah, we've
We
gotten
get
so much Star Wars, people hate it now. You know.
yeah, they gave us another Predator.
I'm not
movie.
in that camp. I
Like,
me neither.
appreciate when
Yeah.
somebody buys
crazy.
something and them actually doing stuff.
Yeah,
As
please
long as
use
they're
it. What do you
not-
think they bought it for? Do you think they bought it to shelve it? You know, like Disney
Yeah.
knows how
Yeah.
to use the stuff that they purchased. You know?
As long as
They
they're
do.
using it and creating quality content. Now, obviously, that's subjective. People can be like, "That's a
Yeah.
shit show," blah blah. I get it, but overall, if you're trying to be a little objective, you have to say Disney puts out quality content
Yeah.
overall.
Well, people
Overall,
complain
I
about
don't-
how much it is now, right? Now there's like this too much delicious
Star
food.
Wars TV.
Yeah, right.
I get like I'm not gonna get into that, but I'm just saying in general, I get the whole like making people wait a little bit because that's
Sure.
what gives us that hunger. Whereas if you just keep throwing shit, it's like Kyle said when we were talking about The Last of Us. If they keep just throwing killing and death scenes every 5 seconds in
yeah.
there, it's kind of like But if you like pace it in a certain way, you can get them to be more powerful and more impactful.
But not
Same
to
thing
the
with
point where you're
shows,
a
movies,
Microsoft who doesn't release anything. So I mean, yeah,
no.
you got to find a
You
middle
went
ground.
You went all of 2022, and your best game that you release is Pentiment, which is like somebody in a basement just drawing a picture and it like slowly.
Guys,
Yeah.
please, I need a
just,
break.
just writing the dialogue. Yeah.
Guys,
Someone's
please.
on
I haven't
budget
seen
voice acting.
I haven't
sorry,
seen
you
my
know,
family in 3 years. He's just in the
Get
basement.
Pentiment 2 going. That's the only game we got launching in 2024.
Oh, man.
Get
My
Pentiment
wife
2
had
going.
our kid. I haven't seen my child.
I've abandoned my child. Okay.
Speaking of gaming developers, publishers that are ran absolutely terrible, Ubisoft CEO apologizes to development staff for quote, "ball is in your court" remarks.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Do you remember he said? So he said this, I think, last
an
week,
asshole.
but we were in our Game of the Year debate, so
Oh,
we didn't
shit.
get to talk about it. But he was like, "Hey, man, us being a failure is on the developers, man. It's not my fault. They
Yeah.
got to turn this ship around."
He did one of these and was like, all right, well, it's on.
Yeah, and so he let a full week go by, and then he was like, "All right, that was my bad. I shouldn't have said that." And it's like,
Oh,
no,
he
but you
apologized.
meant it. You meant it, though.
Yeah, no, he definitely
That's why you said it, because you meant it. What a dick.
I mean, the current state of Ubisoft, I gotta say, like, I don't think they're gonna go under or anything, but they're losing a lot of money. I think I watched a video said it reports are they're gonna lose $537 million this past fiscal year. So that's not good. You know, that's gonna lead
Yeah.
to layoffs. That's gonna lead to
Yeah, they're gonna fire all the devs. And,
cutting certain games and things like that. And there's a lot of franchises. I'm not as big of a Ubisoft fanboy as I used to be. just because I feel like the quality of a lot of their games recently have just not been that great. But I'm still a big Assassin's Creed fan, and I know they've got big plans for that franchise, and I'm excited to see what they do. But I always felt like Ubisoft, until they became very robotic in their way of designing games. Like, hey, I shouldn't say robotic, very formulaic, like where they were just like, this is how you make a good game, so we're not going to deviate from this. And it kind of they oversaturated the market with the same shit over and over with a different a coat of paint.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really hurting Ubisoft is in general, I think, I can't speak for all gamers, but a lot of gamers are getting to a place where they're putting Ubisoft in that EA. They're not quite there, but in that EA mindset of like, this is just a trash publisher that just rinses and repeats, and they're all about just getting my money, and they don't care about creating good quality.
Well, now Ubisoft is in that umbrella where, like, whenever you see an open world RPG with some, like, I don't know, mildly uninteresting elements, or it doesn't look that good, you have people go, this looks like an Ubisoft game. Now they are something you compare to negatively in the gaming space.
Because Assassin's Creed was coming out every year, so then they were like, oh, let's pump the brakes. Let's kind of,
which
like,
was smart.
Yeah, and they came out with Origins, which is actually one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. I love Origins. And like that really worked out for them. So then they're like, all right, well then we'll do Odyssey, and obviously Odyssey sold really well and did well, and I mean so did technically Valhalla, but it's like I'm kind of like I'm so tired of the games because like I'm exhausted because they're so huge. Like
when you see the same thing in like the Far Cry series, where like Far Cry 3 sold really well, and then 4 sold really well, and then 5 sold, and even 6 sold really well. But by the time 6 came out, no one was talking about that game.
Sure,
people bought it, people played it, but like there wasn't a lot of like post-launch conversation about that game, you know. And that's same here. I've beaten all the Far Cries, didn't beat that one. I was just like, I'm kind of tired of this.
I liked that one more than 5, but yeah, it was kind of like I wasn't like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like I remember playing 3 and being like, holy shit, like
this is really
awesome. This is what happens when you can say this is kind of what's happening with the reckoning in the entertainment industry as a whole with all these layoffs, is like you can only copy and paste what you're doing for so long before your audience or your intended audience goes, this is not that inspired. Like this, there's nothing really actually new or unique happening here.
And that's what sucks, because then they start shifting to all this like free to play bullshit, or like just like these things that don't have like any sort of meat to it. It's like I don't want to sound all artsy fartsy, but I love story games. So, but like something like God of War, it's fun to play. It has an amazing story. There's amazing acting. Like when you actually put in the effort and you know the funding behind it, like you can create something like that, which is like amazing. You know, but you have to actually go in that direction.
The other thing that Sony did, and I know I'm in the Xbox Unlocked group that has thousands and thousands of gamers, and a lot of them are Xbox.
That's a fun place.
Yeah, it's really great. And they love to say how Sony just copy and paste everything, and I get what they're saying. They're like, it's just a third person action, adventure game or whatever.
Okay,
but when
just
you
calling
look
it
at like
what it is, yeah,
it's really stupid.
Talk about like looking in through the window and being like, we hate you. Like
that's like.
Fucking
all that's doing is that's like getting in a plane and just like looking at something from a 40,000-foot view and be like, this is all the same, instead of like actually.
It all just looks like land. Yeah.
But what I was trying to say is that like when you look at like God of War, that was already a successful franchise.
Yeah.
And these are the things that isn't brought up by like Xbox gamers and stuff like that. There was still risk in what they did to change the way the God of War games are made. They didn't just change like Kratos the character; they changed the gameplay. Like they literally changed everything. They said, "Dave Jaffe, you were cool back in like the '90s. You're shit now. We're moving on to like something."
Yeah,
different.
He is. Oh my god,
he
that's
really
the perfect comparison.
1,000%.
He's
what?
Just like forever a juvenile creator who's like in his like 50s now, going like, I still make cool edgy shit, And I'm like, you.
God damn it,
edgelord piece of shit,
God damn it.
Yeah.
Zack
So I
Snyder of video
don't
games.
think
Oh my God, dude.
I think that's part of Ubisoft's problem is they do need to, and I know they're trying to do that. I know they try to do it with Assassin's Creed, and I know the new one that's coming out this year, Mirage, I think it is.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
throwback.
It's
man.
it's going back to old school, which is making certain gamers happy. I think that could be a good thing.
Might be the first one I beat, honestly, because it's.
But they
it's
still do
like a
stupid
30,
shit
40
like,
hour-
we're all
That's
waiting to hear about this new Splinter Cell remake game. We're all chomping at the bit to hear about this game, and they're
Sure.
like, "Yeah, you want to hear about Sam Fisher? Well, he's going to be in Rainbow Six Siege." And I'm like,
There you
"Shut
go.
up! Like,
Yeah.
that's
Well-
not what we want, guys.
well,
like,
also,
stop that!" Like,
What was the Splinter
is this
Cell?
also is this the developer that was Ubisoft's the guys that were like we're doing NFTs now, right? These are the same.
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well,
And then they
Square,
pretended
them
they
and
never
Square
did
were
that.
like all in. Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh no, we never did that. I don't know what you're talking about."
what
Yeah.
was the not the last Splinter Cell, but the one before that? Because I remember that being in development hell for a while.
Conviction.
Maybe is that the one where he's like on the run or something, like
God,
where he's
I
like
feel
bald on the cover? He's like fully bald on the cover.
That
like-
one was
No, that was like the first 360 one where he went to jail, I think, and then the one
Okay.
after. I don't know. There was two.
I know
like,
what you're
where
talking about.
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
two that came out like that had the same kind of sister, the
But-
paint and.
Yeah,
seed
I
system
remember
or
that
whatever.
one like taking quite a while to come out. So like I wouldn't be surprised if this one also does, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
They're just.
I
they're
love
not-
Splinter Cell. I think everyone wants to hear about that, but like Ubisoft
Yeah.
like doesn't even know how to market their own games or dangle
Well,
carrots.
they're
Even
another
like their
company-
Assassin's Creed like announcements, like it was a lot of announcements, a lot to be excited for, but it was just so boring. Like
It
it's
was
just,
also
like,
a lot of
how'd
eggs
you
in
make
one
that so
basket.
uninteresting to watch? Like
Yeah, well, because
Well,
it
I
was
just
a
don't even
information.
care. Like
It
if
was-
you're not, here's the thing: you're
too much
not.
information.
If you're not releasing new IPs and you're just regurgitating the same shit, like I already said, I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan, but you're not. If Ubisoft's trying to judge or scope like the future, like on their sales and stuff like that, they're not going to know that I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan because I've shown no interest in watching any of their trailers, any of their announcements
Yeah.
because I don't care. I already know what
Right.
it is. I am already going to buy it. You have not done anything exciting in the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years. I can't even think of a game that I was like, Ubisoft's making that, and that looks original. It all looks copied and
You guys
based,
try Steep?
and they're really into free to play.
The
and
one
they're
with all
all
the
in-
sports. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all into all that crap.
Yeah, and like their big swings are stuff like Steep and stuff like Riders Republic, and like that's
Yeah.
their big
Riders
swings, and it's
Republic,
just
that's
like,
the one,
ugh,
yeah.
guys, that's nobody cares about this shit. Like,
Yeah, Riders
and
Republic
it gets its
was
players.
cool, but
It is a cool idea, but like it's just you're putting people want bigger things out of you, and
Yeah.
and they're having a hard time delivering that. Who's to say by the time I finally get my Samurai, Japan Assassin's
Oh,
Creed that I'm not
yeah.
totally checked out and over Assassin's Creed.
yeah, how
Who's
how
to
did-
say?
Have we not made that decision yet? Like, have we not dropped
People
the
have been
hint
asking
enough?
for years. Like,
Well, they
years
announced it.
Well,
that
now
last
they're
announcement.
too late because there's
Yeah,
other
they
people
announced it,
doing
but the
that
thing is
stuff and they're
I
gonna
got-
do it better.
I
You know
got
they're
my second favorite flavor, Vikings, and I got halfway through that game, and I'm like, I can't play another 20 hours of this game. Like, I just can't do it. Like, so it's like you already gave me
Exhausting.
something I really like in terms of like a type of people, a race, a community, a timeline, and stuff like that. And I got tired of it because I just beat Origins and I just beat the Greek one. I just beat all these games that like Odyssey. Like
honestly.
I just went through these games 2 years ago. Like it got so tiring to play
No,
that formula.
you're definitely not alone on that. I know a lot of people that got kind of drained on Valhalla. I ended up enjoying it and
I
loving
love
it
it,
a
and
lot.
I like that. I'll even tell you, I like that game. It's just like you're
Yeah,
talking
but
about a
I know what
60
you're
to 80
saying,
hour
where it
game,
was like, you don't feel the need to finish it. There's been a ton of people
I
that
get
didn't
it, dude.
bother
I'm gonna kill a
finishing.
couple more Templars, and then,
Hey,
as Dan
guess
says, I
what?
don't get an ending. So what's the point?
Yeah, I was gonna say, guess
Copy and
what?
paste.
Most people didn't finish it unless they bought the DLC.
Yeah,
So,
which it just
technically-
ended like a month ago. Like the DLC is
Right.
like, we're finally wrapping up this story. I'm like,
Yeah.
this game came out 2 years ago. Like,
I don't even know what they're wrapping up. I don't remember the story at all, and
I
I
don't-
beat the
dude,
game. I
Templars,
beat
they're
the
in
game.
London, guys. That's the story. They're here.
They're
And we're
here.
Vikings, and we have to kill them.
We got more good
Why won't
news.
it
This is
end?
actually good news. Crystal
Uh.
Dynamics is finally moving on from the Avengers.
Fuck, you put dirt on that coffin, dude. Let's get it over with. Get it out of
Yeah.
here.
You know what? I gave
What a
that
ride.
game. more than a few fair shots, and I'm not gonna shit on it because it's not a terrible game, but
It's not a
I
terrible
could
game.
not get into it enough to even get past
think-
like the second or third level.
I think the last time I played it was with last time I played it was with Kyle during the Black Panther DLC.
Yeah.
And we beat that, and then they've released like 2 or 3 more heroes, and I have not. Spider-Man, they've released Lady Thor or whatever her name is, and they've released Winter Soldier.
Spider-Man.
And like I'm over here like I have no interest in even diving back in to see what those play
releasing
like.
them with story, so it's like here's a new character, and you're like, well, to do what with? They're like to do the stuff you've been doing for the last 2 years.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
gosh,
I don't want to do that. Like I didn't do
no,
that.
but there's events. What's so special about the events? You fight the same enemies you've been fighting.
No. Like it's kind of a remix of the events that you went through. They're just kind of in different orders now. It's like,
exactly.
Jesus
it's like
Christ,
it's the same environments. So yes, their final update will be occurring on March 31st. I don't think there's gonna be any players, like any playable characters as part of that or whatever. Probably like a final like event or something. But then support ends at the end of September. Thank God. I am ready for this developer to move on. Go make your Tomb Raider goodness.
They've been stuck on this for way too long.
Yeah, for real.
Hold on. Could you go ahead and say what that story was? What was the main title there of that story?
Why are you echoing?
You're echoing.
Why are you echoing?
You're doubling.
He's doing something. He's up to something. Crystal Dynamics is finally moving on from the Avengers. I knew he was doing something.
Here it is.
Where's the metal version of that?
It is very good. There you go.
All right, stop echoing. We don't like the echo.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your jokes. No.
All right, so yeah, I think we're all in agreement
I like
that
bits. Keep doing it.
Thank
we
you,
want Crystal
Kyle.
Dynamics to move on. I'm a big fan of the Tomb Raider games. In fact, the last one they released, which wasn't Crystal Dynamics, I thought it was good, but I definitely could tell it wasn't Crystal Dynamics. I love the
when you play Rise, you know, like you're like, this is a really good game. A lot of us tolerated Shadows, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was such a step down in quality, and I like Shadows. I thought it was a fun game. But
I beat it, and I beat all the DLC. Yeah,
I thought it was good, but like in terms of that, like I don't know, the feel of the game, like boy, it didn't feel like Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Rough around the edges. Yeah. I had a lot of frustrating because there's a lot of Uncharted-esque platforming in it. I had a lot of frustrating moments of that. Just because of the camera was just really irritating.
It felt like old Tomb Raider, like
puzzle based, climbing based, and less shooting. And I'm like, but you don't understand. I play Tomb Raider to kill.
Yeah.
Like I play it to kill. I absolutely love the first one. I beat that one like 5 times.
I beat that game so many times. Yeah,
running and gunning. That's all I cared about.
It was Uncharted, the video game with a lady. In Japanese weird folklore. I was so into that game. Such a good game.
Love that game.
It was a good game.
All right, so let's end the show by talking about anything that we're playing that's outside of, the new games that we already talked about, like Fire Emblem and so on. But let's kick it off with Dan. What are you currently playing or watching?
I mean, pretty much the same things. I'm still just chipping away at Sonic, Crisis Core, Vampire Survivors, Arcade Paradise. I haven't really grabbed anything new. So
some good stuff, dude.
Yeah, that's nothing to be ashamed of. That's for sure.
Chipping away.
Are you watching anything like Mission Impossible 2?
Dude, I got the special edition Blu-ray for that.
You know you're gonna actually watch it this week. You're like, you know what? Derek kept making fun of that movie. I'm gonna go watch it again.
I'm gonna need you to go get
a motorcycle scene.
I was gonna say I'm gonna need you to go get a Kawasaki Ninja bike, and we'll just drive at each other and then dive in the air.
Yeah, that totally made sense. Both of those guys were geniuses.
What about when you kind of vaguely kick the sand and a gun comes up and into
your
kind of vaguely kick
how about
the sand.
How about my favorite part where he already has a gun on the motorcycle, but decides to jump off on the side and ride on the road,
and then jump on and then
pull the gun out. I'm like, why didn't you pull the gun out first? Why would you just ride?
Dude, I love John Woo, but that's the type of self-indulgent bullshit that he does in all of his movies, where he's just like, I'm gonna have my characters slide down this, railing and shoot akimbo or whatever, which is cool when it's a Hong Kong action flick. But when it's Tom Cruise doing it on a motorcycle with his dumb long hair, it's stupid. I don't know, like it doesn't read the same in this type of.
The entire time I watched the movie, I was like, I really wish Ben Stiller was playing this character. He would have fit in the movie better. because it
Sure.
felt like a joke the entire time.
It's very true.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I know.
God.
Just The Last of Us. I still actually haven't finished Better Call Saul. I kind of just been getting distracted with like streaming and stuff, so I just kind of kept not finishing it. I'm on episode 9 of the last season, so I have like
Oh
I
wow.
still need to watch
That-
the last. Did that come out?
Yeah,
Or
like
did you
4 or
buy
5
it?
Yeah,
episodes
yeah.
left.
so I have like 5-ish episodes left.
Did it come out somewhere? Is it streaming somewhere?
No, so I bought the season on
Oh.
Amazon. So
Not buying
it wasn't too
How
pricey.
dare you?
How dare
This
No,
guy's
dang,
so
that'd be
rich.
bad.
He
That'd be a
buys
show I
stuff
would
that's
buy, 'cause
already
I'm
free.
like really eager, and I have been evading spoilers so bad for that. Like,
Yeah.
and it's been hard, dude.
I'll be honest, it's actually a pretty difficult show to spoil. Not because you know where Breaking
Yeah.
Bad picks up, but it's just I don't know, man. There's something about the
But there's some, like, I
journey
don't even want to
that
know
matters way
like,
more.
that
you know,
people
but
survive. Like, I don't want to know anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it just.
I don't know. This like
not on Netflix yet.
so
no,
it's
no,
like
yeah, I didn't think
because
so.
I remember like kind of asking you guys because I just like it's like I know this isn't Breaking Bad. Like I know it's not literally that. Like I'm aware. I just and then I think
Yeah,
Jeff
totally
was like,
different.
yeah, no, it's like a
Yeah.
lawyer show, and it's like okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. But I don't know. I this may like seem blasphemous, but I almost feel like they could have condensed the show a little more. There's just some scenes where it just seems like they're just kind of like a character's just sitting there and they're just
Yes. Yeah.
and the camera's just on them.
Boy,
and
I
it's
have
like,
a show to recommend you.
I know, right?
It's called Copenhagen Cowboy, and it definitely doesn't have just a lot of people sitting around for long periods
there you
of
go.
time.
In front of like
Yeah.
neon lights and stuff.
Yeah.
but then
People
there's
just staring.
Yeah.
But then there's just like, yeah, there's just a lot of that. Or like someone's just on a chair and they're just like, oh man, this fucking shit that I'm dealing with. Like, goddamn. Because something crazy just
It's
happened.
a show
right?
that like there's a lot of room to breathe for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Breaking Bad was kind of the same. you
He's
know, like,
always
where-
been more about
But
like
there definitely was more stuff happening, like.
I don't know. Sometimes
feel.
I feel like the pacing in Better Call Saul is way better than Breaking Bad, but
Mm.
and I don't mean that as it makes it a better show. Just like
Yeah,
I feel like they both have their moments of a lot of things happening pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But also that there being moments for things to breathe and dwell and stuff like that. Nice little.
I guess well also because again they are two very different shows, so I guess there's more intensity and like crazy shit happening in Breaking Bad. Like overall, I would say. How many seasons was Breaking Bad? Was it also 6 or was it 7?
It's just 5.
Or was it 5? Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
then
think
it was 5.
it was
So
shorter than Better
actually
Call
less.
Saul.
So it was shorter. But yeah, like I mean, obviously it's still like it's an excellent show. It's well written. It's very well acted. The camera work is phenomenal. Like it's obviously a very high quality show. It's just not the same, and I didn't expect for it to be. Again, there's definitely just some
on your own, or do you watch it with your wife?
No, on my own. My wife hated Breaking Bad.
Oh. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, she's like one of those weirdos that's just like, well, I have no characters to like, so it's a bad show. It's like, I love you, but that's
You don't.
that's dumb.
It's not a requirement to see yourself in everything you watch. It's so silly.
Right.
Well, she's just very much like
I know.
she-
No. I know professional critics that are like that.
Oh,
I just
sure.
couldn't identify with the. Why are you reviewing movies?
Well, so
You
it's
don't need
not-
to
it's not,
identify with anybody in a movie.
It's not identifying. She just likes more like happy things, and it's like that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's like acknowledge that this is like an amazingly high quality show. Like just acknowledge it. Like please, for the love of God.
Yeah.
Like
she
so
won't
she's just a
acknowledge
goofball.
it until
She's a
you
goofball.
play Xenoblade Chronicles 3. She told me that. She texted
And
me.
watch
is that what it was
Mission
about?
Impossible 2
Yes.
while I'm
Mission
playing.
Impossible 2. Make sure that happens.
You
first.
can
That's
watch
top
that
priority.
while you're playing your Switch. You know, like you
I
can do
could.
both. Yeah.
I could, and then I could
It's
shoot.
actually
myself.
required for you to do something else while you're watching Mission Impossible 2.
Right.
Yeah, I probably
Mow
wouldn't give
the
it your full
lawn.
attention.
Lawnmower simulator.
Vacuum.
Lawnmower simulator. While I'm watching Mission
There you go.
Impossible.
There you go. That's what
I'm
you gotta
cleaning the Laura Croft mansion right now while I watch. I watch. Mission
do. I forgot that
Impossible 2.
that did come out. The DLC for
Oh my
the
god.
Croft Manor.
That's
so funny.
actually why Tim's not here. That's what he's playing.
He's playing that right now. Yeah,
He's
And
moving,
watching.
and by that he means he's going to the Laura Croft Manor and he's going to clean it.
power
That's what
watching.
he
It,
gets.
yeah.
Power washing.
He's gonna
Alright,
he's gonna
Jeff.
lock the butler in the freezer, which is a very inside baseball joke, I guess.
What are you playing and watching currently, Joe?
Nothing else playing. I actually kind of took a break from gaming as we started our game of the year discussions. So Fire
Okay.
Emblem's it for me. Watching, I mean, I'll just bring up because I'm not going to talk about it on the current cinema podcast. I just watched Airplane like before we recorded. That was really funny. That was like I was probably like my fourth or fifth time watching it. But
Airplane or
Yeah.
plane?
Airplane.
Yeah.
Airplane.
The real plane movie.
The
Okay.
only
up in
plane
the air.
movie we're
It's up in the
talking
air.
about. Yeah.
Okay.
Because Leslie Nielsen is just like I kept scrolling.
One of the
through
greatest
TikTok.
comedies
Maybe
of all time.
and
that's
seeing
why
clips of him, and I was like,
Gerard,
okay, I gotta
whatever
watch
his
it.
name,
Sure,
wanted to call it plane because he was like, it's a plane. It's a movie about a plane, but the plane's not in the air. So maybe there's depth to his reasoning.
No.
And he's
I
like,
kinda
the
just think he's a
plane
handsome
is on the
Scottish guy with not a
ground,
lot of
so it's
brains,
not
is kinda
an
what I mean.
air
It's
plane.
plain, like the quality of our movie. It's very plain.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
there it
Very
is. There it
vanilla.
is.
Very vanilla.
There it is.
But yeah, if you haven't seen Airplane, just go. What are you doing? Just go watch it. I mean, it's like
I have
timeless comedy.
seen Airplane. It's
Timeless.
good stuff.
Yeah, it's very
It's
good.
well, I think I just love the whole misdirect quote things that they do, where like they have somebody take a sentence or a word out of context and then they answer that. Like the quote that I mentioned in our chat, where I was like, Leslie Nielsen was talking to a stewardess, and he was like, "Man, everybody's sick. We got to get her to a hospital." And she goes, "A hospital? What is that?" Or not, "What is that?" She's like, "What is it?" She's asking what the illness is, but he goes, "It's it's a building with like patients inside it, but that's not important right now." Like, and there's a ton of those misunderstandings throughout the movie.
Just language jokes.
Yeah, but like Leslie
Nielsen.
Nielsen sells it with such seriousness. I
Oh,
think he
of course.
started
He's the king, dude.
Yeah, I think
He's
he
the
started
king
as
of Pun Hub, basically.
I think he started as a dramatic actor, and then they realized, oh, he can use his drama skills to sell our dumb jokes.
Yeah.
And he just every single time he would knock it out of the park. It's just I haven't watched the sequel at all yet. Maybe I'll do that next.
It's good. I like the sequel. I think that it's not. I mean, it's literally the same movie as the first movie, but it's in space.
Oh,
that's the only difference. It's the same jokes. Like it's like.
Do they have the flamboyant gay guy in there?
He's so good. Yeah.
Do something with this. Oh,
I picked a hell of a day to stop smoking cigarettes.
It could be a...
I really like 2 a lot, but like the first one's like the real like satirical.
And I didn't realize, by the way, when I was looking up the cast list, I didn't. First off, speaking of Better Call Saul, I didn't realize that Mike Ehrmantraut was in the movie. I didn't realize that Jonathan Banks was one of the whatever guys on the mic. Air traffic controllers. And then also the guy who's got like the bushy eyebrows and he's kind of silly. He was in Hot Shots as well. Yeah. I didn't realize that was Jeff Bridges' dad, Lloyd Bridges.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I see the resemblance a little bit. But yeah, Jeff and Bo Bridges, that's their dad. That's crazy.
Oh, interesting.
It's a great movie though. Anyway, that's all I got. And then I'll talk about other movies on the other podcast for sure.
What's the other podcast?
Kyle, you got any new games besides Fire Emblem or?
I went back, and this is my first time playing and beating this game. Went back and played the first Hitman, like the new series or whatever. Cool. Excellent. That game was so good. That game is so. No wonder we got 2 more of those. You know what I mean? Like, of course we did, because like, boy, there was just a real.
Apparently, if you own Hitman 3, you get 1 and 2 free on January.
Yeah, I bought it a week before that went into play. So like I purchased the whole like trilogy, and then like a week later they're like, you get it all for free. I'm like, you assholes. Anyway, it's not a big deal. I don't care. But yeah, really good level design in these games, man. Like, man, I was sharing some of the ways I was killing people, like in chat, like where I was like dressed up as a sushi chef and fed some person bad blowfish and they're dead now, you know. And it's just the links I went to get those costumes and like activate those like side stories were like, it was just so fun. Just some of the most well-designed video games like of the last couple generations, I think, because everything's just so purposeful and meticulously placed. You know, like where sometimes in open world areas are just so big, like there's underused corners and pockets of the world and stuff like that. There is not a single corner of any map of any of these levels that is like not used to facilitate some sort of kill or some sort of traversal or something like that.
There's never like, why is that there? No. There's a purpose for all of it. Yeah.
It's such a good game, and I really enjoy it. I immediately started Hitman 2 afterwards, which I'm a couple levels into that too. I'm on the racetrack level right now.
Okay.
So
I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. My only Hitman 3, the first level in Hitman 3. Well, I guess the second one too, which went horribly. The mansion level. Those are the only 2 levels I ever beat on a Hitman, because every other time I've tried, I'm just so terrible at it. I'm just so terrible at like being
I'm
on the fly.
so bad at those games.
Yeah.
The
I
game
mean,
could
because
literally
of
like,
the
Derek, go in here and do this, and I'd be like, I don't know how to do it.
See,
Yeah.
but that's the thing.
Without
Hitman
getting
3
caught.
added the new thing where it's like you can choose which side story you want to do, and if you just click that, it just puts a marker on the map of what you're supposed to go do. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
cool.
it's like if you don't want to explore around and like wait and watch people's like stuff, like it'll just be like, hey, there'll be a story called like misfiring range or whatever, and like the whole thing is like luring someone to a firing range so they accidentally get shot and everything, but like you have point to point like waypoints and stuff like that, because that's how I'm playing it, like so it's like there's some, you can take the training wheels off obviously, but they're there too, and they implemented those back into 1 and 2. So like going back and playing those games, it feels like I'm playing Hitman 3 right now because of that.
Okay, cool.
Very
Nice.
very cool, man. And I feel like I think in the new update they're making like a hub area, so instead of walking through these really obtuse and bad like menus, which is how it is right now, like you're gonna like have a hub area where you're like setting up missions and like getting your loadout and stuff like that, and you'll walk out a door and it'll load up the mission, so it's like they're doing something there, and they're changing the whole package name to World of Assassins or something like that, and there's probably going to be monthly or weekly updates about hits and stuff like that. It's cool, man. The community's really cool, man. People making their own kills, their own levels, their own kind of paths and stuff like that. I haven't really dove too much deep into that, but you're talking about a game that just has infinite content, so that's
Yeah,
pretty
I already own 3. I know I own 1 and 2 on something. I don't know if it's on PC or on another console or something like that. But I will. This has always been a franchise since Tim and I started this podcast, because he's always liked it. That anytime he would talk about it, I'm like, I want to play it. I want to play it. And then I'll jump in and start it, and I'm like, nope, I suck. I just fucking like I can't.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
literally in the level that's explaining to me how the game works, and I'm not very good at this. So
yeah.
I'm
patience.
not.
That's patience.
I don't have the patience for it, but
And
it's
what's-
always been one that it's intrigued me, because I'm like,
Yeah.
the genius of it is how how you can kill these people, and how open, and how like
It's one of
just-
those extremely rare franchises where, like in gaming, where if you're not acing levels or whatever, the problem is you and not the game. It's so,
There's
so
nothing
rare.
unfair about these.
Yeah,
these
exactly.
games,
Like, it's
And I
relying a
used to
lot on
play the
playing
Hitman
game.
games on like the 360, and I was decent at them. And then, but
they're
I would
linear,
play them. They
yeah.
would let me be more. Yeah, they would let me be more
Sometimes there'd be
combative.
kind of
too.
bigger hub
I liked,
areas, but you kind of had a direct kind of quest of what you were supposed to do. And in a lot of these games now, you have 3 or 4, sometimes 5 or 6 different targets in a single level, to take down.
But I liked Blood Money, and then I actually really
Love
liked
Blood Money.
Absolution. Like I
Hitman
really liked
2,
Absolution.
Hitman Blood Money, Hitman Absolution. I beat all of them. I mean, those are games
Yeah.
that like this is a franchise I used to really love. And then I kind of felt the same way that like kind of Derek and Jeff were talking about when Hitman 1 came out. I played that opening level and I was like, I don't know what this game wants out of me. It is way too much, But then when 3 kind of added that stuff, like now going back and playing that and all that stuff being retrofitted, it feels good. And now I'm in 2 and I'm playing on normal, and I'm not relying too much on, because like I have like 10 levels underneath my belt now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I kind of understand the language of the game, and like that click or whatever, that finally happened. I was like, oh, that felt good. This feels good now.
That's one of the things I like about gaming and maybe that's why I started talking about like playing strategic RPGs and JRPGs more, is because like I've never been really that good at them, because I've never really tried to be good at them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you start to play, and that's why I don't feel bad about playing games on easy, because when you're playing them on easy, you're moving forward, which we are a society where if we feel like we're staying stagnant, we'll generally quit. Where we feel like we're moving forward, we're accomplishing something, but we're slowly picking up things as we do it. And then you eventually get to that aha moment where you're like, I don't need to play on easy anymore. I'm actually good at this game. I could either replay the game or play the sequel, and I could play it on normal, because I've figured out what other gamers already knew, but I just didn't understand because I never gave this a chance. So that's what I've been noticing. That's why I don't mind playing on easy. Once I figure it out, then I usually just flip it and I'm like, yeah, I got it. it. All right, so I'll end the show with just real quick. The main game I've been playing has been definitely Final Fantasy XII. Looking at a walkthrough, I'm more than halfway through it. I actually like all the characters. I mean, again, Dan and I kind of talked about it. I don't have an
Fuck-
issue with Vaughn at all.
Fucking hate
I
Vaughn
just
and
don't.
Penelo.
I just don't care about his relationship with Penelope or
I
whatever
just
her name is.
Penelo, yeah. Well, like,
Yeah,
so
I don't.
the thing for me, and it's because it's like I know the sort of turbulent development. Like Vaughn was like kind of like almost like shoehorned in there because it was like, well, we got to have like the blonde character, right? We had it in
It worked
10,
so well with 10, right? Yeah.
and Zidane in 9, so we got to have the blonde kid, and then
Gotta
they
have
shove
another
Penelo.
blonde kid in a vest, you know, that
Yeah,
worked out
exactly.
so well.
But it's like when you're playing the game, and Derek, I don't know if you sense this as well. Like the main character feels like really like either Ash or Balthier.
Yeah, Balthier, yeah, I would say.
It's really like one of them, if not like them kind
Ash
of
is
together.
the main character. Like she's the most important person in the
Right.
party.
Yeah.
But I like Balthier the most, and I
Yeah,
feel like
he's
his
super cool.
story is more intriguing. Like he's more of a mystery. Like why is he doing
Right.
this?
But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's like not
And
not
I like
like
Fran as well.
yeah,
Fran's awesome.
Fran is
Yeah,
I like
fantastic.
her. I
But
like
he's
her
like
too.
kind of more regular looking, right? And that's why it's like annoying that they wanted to shove Vaughn in there because it's like, so Vaughn is like, oh, I'm shirtless and I have the vest and I'm a blonde kid. It's like, but you're not interesting. I don't care
Yeah,
about your
that's
whole
not interesting.
sky pirate thing and you're a kid. And
Well, and
Penelo
he
just
want
like,
everybody he meets. I want to be that, you know. It's just he's such a that he has no personality of his own. It feels like,
Yeah.
you know, he gloms on to wanting to
and
be a sky
Penelo's
pirate.
just chasing behind him because like
Yeah.
she just like
She's just
has a
there.
crush on him
Yeah,
or
they're
whatever.
attached to him.
Yeah, I don't get that relationship. It doesn't intrigue
Are they
me.
brotherly? Are
more.
they romantic? I don't know.
I think she like maybe I think she like has a crush on him or something, but I don't know if I
He's too
forget if it
cool
gets-
for her, right?
I don't really know. It just doesn't really get explored, I don't think. But like
No, I'm more into Balthier, and then I like I just got done with Fran's like her journey, her
yeah.
story, who she is, where she came from. I like all that stuff. Like there's just something about this crew and this journey that they're on. And then the other thing that, and I know I'm not the first person to say this, but I really did feel it. It wasn't just other people said it and then I'm like, yeah, I agree. When I play this game, I'm like, dude, am I playing Final Fantasy or am I playing like a Star Wars RPG?
Yeah.
Because it just
It's
has
Star Wars
like the
vibes, yeah.
music,
It's big
the
Star Wars vibes.
levels,
Yeah.
Especially
it's
the music, yeah.
yeah.
That
it
article I sent
really-
you that compares all the characters to who their mirrors
Yeah.
are in Star Wars. It's
Yeah.
totally spot on. You know, like
Yeah.
they fit the exact roles and archetypical characters of those type of Arthurian tale narratives. You know.
Yeah. So
It's
I
good stuff, dude.
personally really, really like it. The only thing
And
I'm
I like
not
the
a
judges.
huge
I know
fan-
people are
Ooh.
oh, the judges are all kind of the same, and I don't really know who's who or whatever. It's like I think they're a pretty menacing force.
Aesthetically,
Like,
they're cool.
yeah, and I enjoy kind of like just how menacing they are, and like they are there as the weapons to like to keep the control, you know, under control. You know, so
Are you liking the story? Because that's something that people kind of have gripes with. Because again, also with the
I like the story a lot,
development,
personally.
with the
It's
development though, like there was kind of like it switched hands. Like the director, the first director got
a Final
sick.
Fantasy game had bad development and a lot of switched hands.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
But it was more an
and then
issue
the
of like
story
health.
suffered because of that. I've never heard of that.
Well, so yeah, it was a health issue. So then it switched
I
hands, different
remember
directors.
that.
So.
Yeah.
So that's why that took longer than it. Because honestly, if that had never happened, maybe that actually would have came out in a reasonable time. I mean, who knows?
It came out after like the PS2, like months later, the PS3 was coming out, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah.
Like then that came out. Wasn't it one of the last big
No,
games?
it was
to
in
come out on
it was in
PS2?
the middle of the PS2 gen.
Was it the middle?
Well,
Look
I'm
it
just
up.
saying the middle. Hold on, let me check exactly when it came out, but
Well, look
it
up
wasn't.
and-
I don't think
while
it was
I
at the
finish
end. I could be
talking about it.
wrong.
I actually, so far, I like the story. I mean, I'm not at the conclusion of it, but I like what's going on. I like the mystery of it all. I like the power play. I like the struggle. I mean, that's what intrigued me from the very beginning. I bought this game on launch, and I played like the first like 6 or 7 hours. And what the thing that always made me want to come back and play this game was the characters. Like I like that crew. So I think I'm gonna enjoy it. This is my JRPG that I've made the decision. Like you don't quit on this one. Like you keep going through. Don't rush it. So I was trying to beat it before Fire Emblem came out. That's not gonna happen. So I'm just gonna keep slowly plucking away at it while I play all these other games.
Lean on that
I'm
3
on.
times, you know.
That's
We learned 3 times fast forward.
it's really cool that
I do. That's the reason I'm more than halfway through it, is that fast forward is fucking amazing.
It turned an 80-hour game into like a 40-hour game for me. I'm not.
Yeah, I
even
was
kidding.
watching walkthroughs and they're just like the characters are like this, and I'm like,
you're skipping games across. I don't care.
It definitely
look great, but
it definitely helps with like with grinding, you know, because if you want to get some extra levels in, then
it makes it super fast.
Oh, sorry.
ahead.
The PS3 came out in 2006 November. This came out in March of 2000. Wait, hold on.
Kyle said he didn't care and he left.
He did. Oh no, so Kyle, what? So wait, Kyle was right. It came out in 2000. Okay, I don't know why I was just looking at that wrong.
Well,
yeah, so no, he was right.
You know what? No, he doesn't need to know. He left, so he doesn't need to know he was correct.
No, Kyle was. Yeah, it was the same year. That's weird.
I thought. Yeah, I mean, I worked at GameStop when it came out, so I kind of had a good memory of it.
I worked at GameStop.
So I remember being so like, oh man, this is gonna be so good.
Dude, I remember the soul crushing feeling of 13 coming out too. Yeah.
I was so excited. I was like, this looks beautiful.
I know that Final Fantasy 13 came out the same day as God of War. Was it 3?
2 or 3?
I'd have been 3. It had to have been.
It was 3.
Because I know God of War 2.
I bought both those games on the same day, and
God of War 2 was real late in the PS2 cycle too.
Sure. So
this was PS3.
Yeah, PS3. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, so that was fun. That's cool. What even made you choose going with 12? Like
because I saw it was cheap on PC, and I looked up like, does it have like fast forward options and all that stuff? Okay. And I was like,
I'll go for it.
I'm just gonna go for it because it was like $15 or something like that.
Well,
so I just bought it not too long ago, like right before I started.
Dude, it's a good game.
Yeah, I mean, it has a really passionate following. It's definitely. I think overall, it's that crowd is smaller than the people that dislike it, but like that crowd is very like vocal about how much they like the game.
I think the story changed on that one too, where when it came out, like I think there's a lot more fanfare these days than back when it came out.
Yes.
I feel they're like it had its second life at like getting new fans. Like me, dude, I hated this game when it came out. I remember playing it and I was like, nope, I'm out on this, you know. And then all years, just 3 or 4 years ago, I went back and played and beat it, and I was like, oh, this game was absolutely excellent. You know,
I remember liking it, but not like loving it. Like I was like, I like this, but
it
doesn't beat 10 for me. Like 10 is my second favorite. So.
10's
so
awesome.
my plan is, I'm not saying I'll do it right away, and I already downloaded it, is to beat 12, and then I want to beat 13, because when 13 came out, I played it on PS3 and I got all the way to like, I want to say it's like chapter 11 of 14.
Yeah.
I got real deep and got stuck on a damn boss, and I tried over and over on how to beat that boss, and I could not figure it out. Even with guides and everything, like set your crew up like this and do all this, and I was like, I can't beat this guy. So I do want to beat 13, and yes, I am one of those few people that actually liked 13. Like I liked I didn't like everybody in the crew, but I liked the story and I liked some of the characters. I don't know if there is a Final Fantasy game where I like every character. I think they always write a annoying character or two. But overall, I've always liked Final Fantasy games for the journey, and you know, I've always enjoyed that.
112, it feels like you're actually going on even though you're zoning out into new areas, it feels like you're far away from the main city that you started.
Game is very big.
Like the grand sense of like scale of like where you started and where you've gone.
Going.
Yeah, you definitely feel it, you know.
So you get in a new area, and if you don't have the map, you're just like kind of like going through, and you're just like, okay, it's like they're small areas, but they just keep going. And it keeps branching to the left and right and down and up, and I'm like, dude. I'm not.
It feels like an MMO, right? I mean, I don't know how many MMOs. One of the older type MMOs, because that's the design of it.
It's a single player.
It is is very much the design of Final Fantasy XI, absolutely, which has a similar sense of like, God, I really got somewhere from where I've started and where I am now. Final Fantasy XI very much nailed that.
Yeah.
So as far as gaming goes, again, that one's going to be my main focus. I did jump back in. This is after like a year and a half of retiring from Rocket League. I am back, baby.
Oh, God.
I am back.
Back, baby.
God.
that actually just reminded me. You go ahead, but there's something else I've been playing. I feel ashamed, but I don't even care.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I like to be honest about myself and not be delusional. I lost a lot of ability in that year and a half off. Like I jumped in and I was like driving super slow because I couldn't measure the ball. I couldn't figure anything out. I was just
Sure.
really bad. But I have been playing for the last 4 or 5 days and I'm getting my mojo back.
Riding a bike.
I'm not, huh?
It's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
riding
I
a bike.
used to be a diamond player, which is pretty high, and now I'm in platinum 2, so I'm just under a diamond. But
Hmm.
I can definitely I can tell that I've dropped off, but it is starting to come back. I'm starting to get a feel. I'm starting to get my little tips and tricks back that I'm like, oh, I remember when I used to be, I used to do this or that or whatever in these situations. So. But it's just fun to be back. I do enjoy that game. And actually what got me back was just I didn't know my son was playing. He's back to playing. So I was like, "Oh, you're playing Rocket League? I think I'll download it." So
Nice.
so I'm back in that. And as far as real quick so we can end the show, as far as stuff I'm watching, obviously I'm watching the Mission Impossible movies. I bought all 6 of them in 4K. I've watched the first 3, started the 4th one. I had previously seen 1, 4, 5, and 6. 2 and 3 were the only ones I had never seen. 2, I've obviously made it very clear. I thought that was an absolutely shit trash movie. 3 though, I actually really, really liked. I
three's
thought it
great.
was
Three's out.
it was
three's
like
out of control, man.
it was almost like they were like, "Hey, we
Seymour
see
Hoffman.
all that we did wrong with 2, so let's just
Get that
180
lost
it."
guy on this.
Yeah.
That's what
So it was a really, really good movie. I'm looking forward to diving back into 4, 5, and 6 because that's actually why I bought this. Is because I remember, so I don't remember the movies. I just remember how they made me feel. I remember loving 4, 5, and 6. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going through them again and seeing did I really like them or what was going on.
I think you'll be like, yeah, I really had fun with 4. Villain is all right, but yeah, 5 and 6 are just like
5 and 6 are out of control, and I think 6 is one of the
On a
best
different level,
modern day
dude.
action movies ever.
Dude,
I think it's
same here.
It's
absolutely
insane.
excellent. Yeah.
Insane.
Right. I'm looking forward to that. That's probably what I'll do this weekend. And then the only other thing I want to talk about is I got really locked into Lincoln Lawyer, so I watched the first season of that.
Oh,
and
the
then
show.
actually
I've seen the movie.
and then I watched the movie because
I like the
was
movie
like,
a lot. Actually,
The movie's great.
I like the
yeah.
show, so I'm gonna watch the movie. And I'm a big Matthew McConaughey fan, so
All
anything
right,
he's
all right,
in,
all
I'm
right.
like,
All right.
oh. So
Got
I
a lot of
enjoyed that.
lawbreakers out there.
Got a lot of
There's-
lawbreakers out there.
There's a lot of cheese to the show, but I still thought it was very entertaining and well done. But yeah, I've been enjoying watching shows and watching movies. Something honestly, truthfully, I stopped doing for years. Like if I had downtime, it was strictly video games.
Yeah.
Spread
And
the
so
love,
now-
man. A lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah, so now I'm stretching it, and Netflix has been great. Like ever since
man.
I
Yeah.
resubbed to that, I finished The Witcher season 2, which is something I always wanted to do, and then I'm currently working on finishing up Ozark and Dragon's
Ozark.
Dogma are the 2 shows I'm watching right now on.
So,
Dragon's Dogma started off good. The first episode was fun. I liked it. I thought it was good. It has dropped off since, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
that show is not good.
what are we? What
You
are
could
we
have just copied. You could have just copied the games, guys.
Just
it
watch
was right
Arcane.
there.
just watch Arcane. Just
like
watch-
the last episode I just finished? I'm gonna spoil a little bit because it was absolutely ridiculous. It's just this girl and guy, and then like 2 people like defending him or whatever. This married couple, and the girl like is literally hitting on every guy, like whipping her tits out every 5 seconds, trying to
Oh, so
sleep
that's
with
why you like-
everybody right in front of her husband. And it's
Jesus.
because her husband won't defend her. He's like this weak beta male.
Oh, for
And
God's
then at
sake.
the very end, he becomes alpha and defends her, and she's turned on, and he murders her. And then kills himself.
Okay. All right.
And
Well,
I'm like, that was at no point, that was never in the game at all, by the way.
Yeah.
oh, it
And
was.
I
the
have-
game. Not there.
And I'm watching the show
no.
going, I have no idea why any of this happened. Why did this happen? This felt like completely filler, pointless. But the only thing good about it was that they did. I'm gonna say it. They drew her breasts perfectly. But that's it.
There it is.
That's
there
it.
it is. We went
that's
for
why
a
the first
long
episode-
ride there, but there it was.
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
the destination.
Well, when
they-
you're with me, Kyle, you always get long rides, baby.
Oh man. So
Alright.
they breasted her boobily, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Rested her boobily.
absolutely.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 boobies. Rest of the show 0 out of 10.
I will still finish it because it's short shows.
You're
but
already through. You're
seriously.
already in it. You might as well.
He's in it. All right, he was in it. He dove
All
right.
right.
Yeah.
So that is our show. Thank you for listening. What is that? What's his name? Gaston. Yeah, we appreciate you.
Every
Hey,
week,
Gaston.
man. Love you, bud.
Hey Gaston, go tell everybody to go listen to Current Cinema too.
Yeah, tell
Yes.
them to listen to our
Yeah.
other. We're branching out. We're so popular.
Branching
we make
out, guys.
so much money
Yeah.
right now.
We want
Yeah.
more of your time.
that. We're actually creating more and more
We are.
podcasts.
3 hours a week isn't enough. You have to give us 1.5 more.
so we can
Sell it, guys. Sell your-
oversaturate everything, and eventually Tim's just gonna come out and be like, "Balls in your court, Jeff. Balls in your
Wow,
court,
yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah, he's
in your
gonna
court,
Ubisoft,
man.
yeah.
Can you make us money? Can you make us money?
I mean-
Balls
I
in your
mean,
court."
If you don't, we're gonna have some layoffs, okay? And I don't know who it's gonna be, but it
Okay,
might be-
all right, Derek. All right, Derek. We're gonna fire
Dan,
you.
Dan,
gonna
you've
fire
legit
you,
been fired. You've
fire
legit-
you. No, sell your thing. You guys started a separate little spin-off thing there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sell it real quick.
It's pretty much this, but it's just about movies. And I was genuinely trying to follow some sort of a structure, kind of like Tim put together for this show, or maybe you guys put it together.
No,
as a
I
group.
let Dad.
Oh,
Dad-
okay. I'm just making sure.
Mostly
But
Tim.
so it's kind of the same thing where like we start off the show talking about something new that we watched, and then we talk about something old that we watched, and then we do a I'm gonna try to do this weekly because I think it's just a fun idea. I'm just calling it Pick 5. We're each gonna bring 5 movies
Under
to
a
talk
certain
about
category.
under
or,
a certain topic or category. Like last week was movies that shaped our taste in other movies, like movies that we watched when we were super young that made us go, I want to see more of that in other movies.
Mm,
And then this week we're gonna do no, it's not underrated. It's misunderstood movies. So it's movies that the internet has a weird hate boner for. That's pretty much what we're gonna use this for.
Yeah.
So you're gonna talk
boners.
about Mission Impossible 2. Got it.
No,
No,
hell
no. Everyone's hate boner is spot on for that one. so.
Yeah, it's accurate.
Correct boners.
It's a
Now I
correct
know
boner.
why you gotta hate me because this movie sucks. It's all it's ever seen. Like, so no, it's more like for like the Last Jedi type movies where everybody's just like, oh, or like at least half the people online.
Like
are
when you
very-
bring it up, it like literally people
Yeah.
roll their eyes out of their heads, that type of thing.
So all you have to do is talk about Star Wars every week.
pretty much.
yeah, I mean, really,
pretty much.
really. But all 6 of my movies that I'm bringing are 3 Star Wars, 3 different prequels.
Sure. Yeah.
I actually I found another 2017 because I set rules for myself when I make a list like that. I had Last Jedi down, but I mean, I was like, what more can I say about it? So I picked another movie from the same year. I didn't
just
want to
wanna-
talk about 2 movies from the same year.
For the record, I just want to say I enjoyed the newest Star Wars trilogy. I didn't like
Same.
the last movie as much, but
It's my
heard that
least
that's-
favorite, but it doesn't mean I
Yeah,
have to
but I still
turn my identity
overall,
into.
I don't hate
hating
Disney
it.
for what they did. I thought it was a good trilogy.
I feel the
Yeah,
same.
You know how
I
many
feel the same
kids
way.
are into Star Wars now? So many, dude. Like that. In 10 years, when these kids are old and like sharing their opinions, like people
be
are gonna
honest-
realize, oh wow, that really moved a lot of children.
Yeah.
So.
To be honest, that's what we should be making Star Wars movies for.
It
I'm
is
not
for-
saying they
Lucas
shouldn't
literally
be
has always said
adult.
these are kids' movies.
Exactly.
Lucas has always
It
said
should
that,
be
yeah.
for 10 to 15-year-olds.
That's why the stories are so basic. It's about good and evil. You know,
we
we get into
know-
the minutia in the TV shows, where it's like, well, everything's not as black and white as we thought it was. But like in the
Yeah.
main movies, it's always very simple.
But, I mean,
like
we know fully well that adults also act like children. So
none of us are really truly grown up. We're all just
Yeah.
different sized babies.
I mean, I'm 43 years old. I play video games. I talk in all caps.
You're a menace to society.
I'm the
Um,
definition
damn.
of an adult. Who does
Remember when
talk-
Don Cheadle told Kevin
Yeah,
Hart how old
yeah.
he was, and he goes, "Damn, I'm sorry."
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that.
I mean, I'm
and he was
54 years
like,
old.
he seemed mad.
He seemed mad.
Oh, Don Cheadle was mad, right?
Yes!
Don Cheadle- Yeah. Oh man.
I'm sorry.
I think
That's my fault.
yeah, I
I'm
remember
sorry.
that.
I was just reacting.
Can I unless can I just real quick throw out something? I'm gonna be doing participating in what they call on Twitch a raid train. So when people raid into other people's channels, so like say I had 20 people in my channel hanging out with me, then we basically just kind of like move over. We like move everyone over to that channel. So now like the streams have like fused essentially. We're watching that person. And it's like an organized event. So it's kind of like a way to like promote like people's channels and be like, hey, this is, you may never watch this person. Check out this person. It's really cool. It's a good idea. I'm going to be in one this Friday on the 27th. I'm participating in one, the first one I've ever participated in. And it's a weird one. It's a very weird theme. And let's just say I might be a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
Okay.
I hate
You've
this. I hate this so
even
much.
lost Gaston on that one. You lost him. He's out.
Might be a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
This is my
No.
nightmare.
And that's what we're ending the show on. Hit the record button. Stop it. We're out.